Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
The Raiders fire Antonio Pierce. No surprise, the Cowboys block the Bears for interviewing Mike McCarthy. What does that say about Mike McCarthy? And the Patriots are accused of manipulating the Rooney Rule. And much, much more on a new episode of Job in the Mouth. They're going to give him a significant. They're going to have a ton of money to spend. Why not put it in one of the top 3 offensive players in the league? We're going to be looking at Aaron Judge and saying that he can't win the big game. Michael Jordan said, I played 82 games. You don't see LeBron doing that.
This is a game where you got to go perform.
I told you, Giant fans, and Saquon Barkley, at this point, I'm gonna fight them all. A 7-nation army couldn't hold me back. They're gonna rip it off. Taking time. Say whatever you want about Patrick Mahomes. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. Really? And I'm talking to myself at night because I can't forget. And back and forth through my mind behind a cigarette. And the name's coming from my eyes. Can't get it alone. We are back for a new show of Jabba in the Mouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Jabba Chamberlain and Speedy Petey. Remember, you can call us at 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including Jabba in the Mouth, every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Oh my God. It is cold, cold, cold here in New York. And if I'm telling you it's cold, it's cold. It was like 17 degrees yesterday, but it had to be a wind chill under 0. It was really, really cold. I mean, and to me, when you're out and about, you're trying to figure out, you're bringing back Christmas gifts. I mean, you have gifts that you have to return and all that other stuff. To be outside after 6 o'clock when there's no sun out, I mean, you better have a coat on. You better have gloves on. You better have a hat on, a snow cap on, or you're going to get sick. It is freezing right now, Java.
Well, it ain't much warmer here. It was, I think, when I got up this morning, it was 4, and I think the wind chill was negative. So, yeah, we kind of get the same weather. I think we're very relatable. We're kind of the redheaded stepchild of the weather for each other. So, but
I
yeah,
think you guys get it worse. I think you guys get it worse than we do.
I don't know. I mean, it just like we get it at weird times though. Like ours is like, it'll be super nice. We'll get like a week where it'll be, like 50, 60 degrees. And then next week we're below and we're getting snow. Like we're just so Jekyll and Hyde. And our saying here is wait 5 minutes and the weather will change. That's kind of our saying around
That's
here.
Florida.
So,
that's Florida.
well, yeah, but they're consistent.
Morning.
You know what's going to rain, and that's interesting. You even say Florida. I was just looking at what the Rays are going to do when they're playing at Steinbrenner for this season, and how they got to go about that. So that's going to be an interesting aspect of what it is. But yeah, I mean it's cold, it's windy. I would like to say one thing. It's like let's keep our thoughts and prayers for all the people in California dealing with those fires. Yeah. We're dealing with cold and all that stuff, and some of those pictures are pretty horrific. And man, it's just, I hope everybody is safe and their families are safe and they got out when they could.
I remember that happened last year in Montreal. It was really, really bad. There was an outbreak of fires over there in Montreal. We have somebody that comes on, Pablo, who comes on our show every single week on the Weekend Crunch. And he told us that in Montreal, I forget what time it was. It August? It was in the summertime of last year. There was a bad fire, the fire that broke out over there in the woods in Montreal. And it knocked down so many houses and so many parks over there in Montreal. So this happens in California all the time. It's a shame that it's going on right now. My heart and my prayers go out to the families and the people out there dealing with this. It's a horrible story. I know everybody. And if you guys have a chance to donate money, I know there's ways of donating money to these families that are going to need food and shelter as they're losing their homes and some people losing their lives. So definitely, if you can donate some money and donate some food, I'm sure there'll be posts up very, very soon to help out all these families. So my heart goes out to the family. Speedy, what's up, man?
Yeah, I also want to send condolences as well to the family. Java, a guy you probably played against, Brian Mattis, passing away at a very young age, 37 years old. So Java, I'm sure you knew him. I've tried getting him on the show the last few years too. So very sad. So my condolences to all his teammates and everyone that knew him as well.
Yeah, I remember when you were telling me. We actually almost we had him coming on the show, and then he canceled with us, and we never could get him back on the show. So unfortunately. That's sad. 37 years old, losing a life like that. That's a horrible story, but life is short. And that's what I tell everybody. Try to enjoy whatever time you have on this earth because you don't know when your tomorrow is going to be up. You can walk outside and a car can hit you and you're done. I mean, that's the crazy thing with life and you don't know when God's going to take you. So enjoy every minute of your life. I lost a friend by falling asleep and not waking up. He had a heart attack. He had a massive heart attack, and he was a young guy. So things happen, and that's why just enjoy life. That's why I say to everybody, when you have a chance to breathe every morning and go out, even if you have to go to work, enjoy yourself, enjoy the time that you have on this earth because you don't know what second, what minute, or what hour you're going to go. So it's horrible. We have a great show lined up for you at 8:30. We'll be talking to former Bengals and Commanders tight end Rick Doc Walker. He's been on our show. Fantastic. He's also a broadcaster. He does a podcast. He is fantastic. And I'm sure he has his thoughts with the Commanders who are heading to the playoffs with Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels, who looks like he's going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year, even though I think Bo Nix had a better year than Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. It's crazy what Bo Nix did this year. And Speedy, I predicted it. I did predict Bo Nix. So I love Bo Nix. And I still think he's got a lot more to develop. I really think he could be a top 5 quarterback in the future. 4 years in college football, when you see guys like that 4 years and spend their time to develop their skills and then come to the NFL, it's always the guys that play 2 years in college football and they come to the NFL and they're absolute busts. You need time to develop your skills, and Bo Nix did. and he's been sensational this year. It has a lot to do with Peyton. There's no question. But Sean Payton couldn't help Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson, look what he did this year with Pittsburgh, even though the last couple of games doesn't look good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But NFL Network's Tom Pelissero reports that the Raiders have fired Antonio Brown after a year and a half with the team. Who was predicting that? He added that general manager Tom Telesco will keep his job and get a chance to hire his own head coach. Reports say that Tom Brady will also be actively involved in the Raiders' recruitment of their head coach. He adds that many NFL teams have reached out to Bill Belichick about stepping down from North Carolina to coach their team. Brady and Belichick have spoken very often over the last month, even since Belichick took the job with North Carolina. The Raiders' next coach will be their 12th different coach in 20 years, the most in an NFL span. Here's the facts. The Oakland Raiders, or I say the Oakland Raiders because that's what they are to me, or the Las Vegas Raiders, they have been needing a head coach. They had one in John Gruden, and John Gruden gotten that mix off with the Washington Commanders, and he lost his job. And by the way, John Gruden is going to be interviewing for jobs this offseason. A lot of people believe that one way or another, he's too good of a coach for a team to walk away if they're interested in bringing in John Gruden. But John Gruden was their best coach for the last, I would say, since Bill Callahan. It was the last good coach they had. And Bill Callahan only took them to the Super Bowl one time. But that was their last credible coach they've had. This has been a big problem for the Oakland Raiders or the Las Vegas Raiders. And the organization right now is trying to find ways to get themselves out of these holes. They don't have a starting quarterback. They definitely made the right choice bringing in Brock Bowers and making that move at the draft. A lot of teams passing up on Brock Bowers is probably smacking themselves in the back of the head. They don't have a number one wide receiver. They had Devontae Adams there. Devontae Adams is with the Jets. Maybe he becomes available. Maybe with the right coach. Him and Aaron Rodgers could head back to the Raiders. Nevertheless, they're going to need a significant upgrade at the coaching position. And there's really nothing out there that really brightens up your day. I mean, seriously, Bill Belichick goes to North Carolina. Vrabel's probably going to the Bill Belichick-less New England Patriots. So where are we going here? Where do they look? Is it Brian Flores? I know the Jets are going to be interested. Maybe they interview Rex Ryan. He's been a successful coach for a little while with the New York Jets. Who do they interview? There's really nothing out there that you could say, wow, this guy is a slam dunk. There are no slam dunks right now that are available as far as the free agency coaching positions. Now, Ben Johnson is an interesting prospect. He's a rookie coach. He's a guy that I know Davis will absolutely pay. He wants $15 million or more. He wants to be the highest paid coach in the NFL. But is he willing? Is Ben Johnson willing to go to Vegas? Is he willing to go to the Jets? I think he wants to go to a winning organization with a winning offense. I don't think there's anyone out there that is available as far as I'm concerned. Even the Jacksonville Jaguars, where everybody says, well, they have a great coach. I mean, they have a great culture there, and they have a great quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is not a great quarterback. He has not been successful for the last 2 years. His teams missed the playoffs for the last back-to-back years. This is a guy that was the number one pick. This is the guy that everybody thought was the Andrew Luck of the NFL when he was coming to the NFL, coming from Clemson. I don't see it. And there was really nothing out there that I would say, if I was a Raiders fan, where I would be excited or happy whoever they decide to bring there.
Yeah, team culture has always been a question with the Raiders as well, because they've tried to make it work in different ways. They've tried to make it work going unconventionally, then they try to go flashy since they've moved to Vegas, and they always end up getting themselves into drama. And this kind of story right here, obviously Antonio Pierce inevitably was going to be fired. I don't think that's a shock to anybody, but like them trying to now have Tom Brady like try to push for Bill Belichick, if you swing and miss on trying to get him to leave North Carolina, that's going to delay the coaching process as it is for a team that is very not a good destination as it is. Like probably the Saints and maybe the Jaguars, but even the Jaguars with Lawrence, they're still there, are probably still a better option. The Saints, maybe they're ahead of. And that might be it at this point because the Raiders don't have a lot to look forward to. Yeah, they have money. Yeah, they have Brock Bowers, but it's not much besides that. You're hoping that maybe Aaron Rodgers or Devontae Adams leaves the Jets, but even that's not a guarantee. So there's too many what ifs that you're going to have to trust. So Tom Brady's trying to go for this big swing.
You didn't hear what Aaron Rodgers just said. You heard what he said the other day after the game with the Jets. He said that he's going to know within 24 hours if he's going to be a Jet or not.
Yeah.
He's not going to come out and say it. But there are rumors that he sat down with the New York Jets 24 hours on Monday, and he spoke about his future. Now, he's not going to go on the Pat McAfee show and spread rumors. But there's no guarantees, like you said. He might retire.
Yep.
I mean, that Jeopardy job is still available.
That's right.
He could take that Jeopardy job. Which everybody has thought over the last couple of years he would want. So there's a lot of questions with the Aaron Rodgers thing. Devontae Adams, he's going to be a free agent because he's going to opt out. He's allowed to opt out. So that's going to be a question. And Devontae Adams is going to probably go to a championship competitive team. He's not going to the Raiders. They've got a lot missing to that roster.
Yeah, you look at the combinations that the Raiders need to have too, because Antonio Pierce was supposed to be there to stabilize the defense, a defense that was good in 2023. They got worse this year when they got these free agents. Their offensive line was still pretty good, but they besides Jacoby Myers and obviously Bowers having the great year he had, there's really nothing to look forward to with their skill position players, which leads it to believe like what coach is going to want to take that job. And then again, if you want to go for the swing of trying to get Belichick and then you miss it, like who's going to be left available? You're trying to do a dart throw again. Josh McDaniels was the last coach in that hiring cycle last time. Are the Raiders going to want to go down that rabbit hole? Not Josh McDaniels specifically, but try to do that kind of thing again. And you know how that didn't work for them. So like you have to try to nip it right now before the Raiders have to settle again for these other second tier coaches or another retread type coach, which doesn't work for them. And that's the problem the Raiders have had with these organizations. Like you said, Gruden was the only big name that they had. I liked Jack Del Rio there too at the time, but now obviously he's outdated, but every other coach they tried to go for, either these unconventional guys or eventually they have to settle for them because they try to get too cute in the hiring cycle.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of variables that go into this. Like if you're going to do that, I would really like to know when these athletes, and I've known a few that have been involved in owning teams, like really, how much are you really vested into it? Are you just the name or are you actually, a big value of it? But 95% of the time, it's just the name behind the number so that they have a little bit of say. And we've seen what it is. Belichick ain't leaving, by the way. I mean, that's just unless they do something astronomical. Yeah, it has to be
the Raiders
astronomical.
thing to do. It's like to spend $17 million a
Davis
year.
is broke. What are you talking about? He's broke. So he's going to go digging into his pockets.
But that's the reason they brought the group in. So
think.
obviously they're going to have some say. But I mean, there's even talks, with like the Bears and other teams, bringing the head coach from Iowa State. And
Campbell, who almost went to the Jets.
Yeah. So I just, it's gonna be what's the right fit, but it's also gonna be what's the best for the team right now to win. Is it for longevity or is it for building up to win, or do you want to win now? There are a lot of, as we've seen, there's 6 right now so far. And there could be more, and so you see. There's different fits for who you would want or who you would need. And I think it's going to come down to money's going to be one. That's let's just be honest about it. Another one is going to be a name, and which should be the first one, but what's the right fit for their offense, for their scheme, for everything that they need? That's really what it comes down to, which that should be the number one. But we know that's not what is in play right now with certain things that are going, because the market is vast right now. It's not like it's just one job fighting for it. And Speedy, you're right. It's like
if you throw behind the Raiders too.
Right. If you throw all your eggs in one basket for one person, and all the ones that were maybe 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, now they're gone. And that, like you said, it puts you even further back than what it was trying to get that. I wouldn't call it a diamond in the rough, but just get that one that you think would be the best. So yeah, I just think it's reaching a lot. And I think there's other choices that can really, really help the team. But it's just going to come down to what's the best fit and what happens and how they agree on, the principles of, what you stand by, what the money is, and this, that, and other thing. And most of these guys, shouldn't say they're not worried about the money. Yeah, it helps. It's great. Don't get me wrong, but that shouldn't be your number one. And if that's what your number one is, then you're in it for the wrong reason.
I think the only two coaches that the Raiders should be looking at right now is if Mike McCarthy, which I do not believe he's going to be available. There's a reason we're gonna get into this whole Bears situation, but Mike McCarthy would be the hottest ticket right now because he's the best coach available right now if he becomes available. And Pete Carroll, who's won a Super Bowl and won national championships. And I do believe Pete Carroll's going to get a job this offseason because there's nothing out there. There is no good veteran, successful coaches that are out right now that are going
Did
to
Did it say why he didn't coach this year?
Well, he's old. He's the oldest coach. He stepped down. Obviously, Seattle said that he stepped down. It wasn't a fire. He stepped down. And I think he wanted time with his family. He has grandchildren that he's never really got a chance to spend time with. I think he's even a great-grandfather, too.
I was just going to say, he's probably got great-grandkids, too.
Yeah, so I don't think he had a chance to really spend any time with his family. So I think he needed time alone. Now, he could be available. He might take a job, but he's probably the best option if Mike McCarthy goes back to the Cowboys. Speaking of Mike McCarthy, Adam Schefter reports that the Bears wanted to interview Mike McCarthy to become their new head coach, but the Cowboys blocked the interview. McCarthy contract with the Cowboys expires January 14th, but until then, the Cowboys still have his rights. McCarthy says he prefers to stay with the Cowboys, and Jerry Jones says he doesn't want any coaches that aren't loyal to the Cowboys. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reports that the Bears will interview Pete Carroll tomorrow, and Carroll would love to coach again, even if he doesn't get the Bears job. The Bears have also requested to interview Joe Brady, Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, and Brian Flores. Mike McCarthy is 49-35 in 5 seasons coaching the Cowboys, but just 1-3 in the playoffs. Mike McCarthy would be the best option available at any of these coaches. And I'm telling you, Pete Carroll's too old. Mike McCarthy is still going into his late 50s, 60s. He might be closer to 60 now, but Mike McCarthy still has a lot of tread left in him as a head coach. He's one of the best offensive minds, obviously from the West Coast offense, the 49ers West Coast offense, as we see Andy Reid and those and Holmgren, and then obviously all came from that West Coast offense. But honest to God, if you're sitting here today and you're looking at these coaches lists, they don't really stick out at you. They don't pop like, wow, this is a great coach. He's a must land. There are none. There really isn't. Are you going to trust Joe Brady? Joe Brady had an offensive coordinator job. He lost it, and then he got a Buffalo Bills job the next year. Okay, did he help the Buffalo Bills offense? Yes, but he's got Josh Allen. Okay, so anybody can coach the Buffalo Bills and get Josh Allen to play unless you're a really terrible offensive coordinator. And then you look at Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel, it's a foregone conclusion. Mike Vrabel is going to go to the Patriots. I thought it was already set up over the last really 48, 72 hours since Monday. He was going to get that Patriot job. I expect Mike Vrabel to be announced by next week with the Patriots. But right now, there's really nothing out there on these lists that I'm going to say, oh my God, I want him. My Jets right now are looking for their next head coach. Now, everybody keeps saying it's Rex Ryan's to lose. Now, why? Here's my question to the Jet fans. Are you going to be excited to bring back Rex Ryan? Why did they fire him from the beginning? If you knew that you were going to bring him back, and I'm sure Woody Johnson in his mind of minds thought he didn't want to fire Rex Ryan, but with the whole Mike Tannenbaum thing, and if he's going to fire the GM and bring in a new GM, he's going to fire the coach. And Tannenbaum got fired before Rex. Then Rex got fired when he brought in John Izek. How long was he here? That was, 1 year? And then the fans, they had a plane flying over the facility, the Jets facility, fire Izek, and he's gone. Now he's back with Seattle, I think. So, I mean, honest to God, you're going to sit here and you're going to be excited for any of these guys. That's why Dable still has a job. That's why the Giants did not fire him, because there's nothing that stands out and sticks out. And now, the Jets are screwed. All these other teams, the Jaguars are screwed, because if you're bringing a coach right now, you're stuck with him for at least 3 years, unless you're gonna be like the Raiders, or what the Raiders have done over the last couple of years. You hire a guy and then you fire him in 1 year. That doesn't give you that doesn't give you that teamwork that you want, that you're building through an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, special teams, and then you're going to fire that guy in 1 year. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and we talked about it with the Raiders too. Like, there's a reason like certain organizations are left in the back when it comes to getting these hirings later on. And the Raiders had to settle for like the head coaching. The Browns got Stefanski, but he was the last one in that coaching run too. The Dolphins with Mike McDaniel too, same kind of thing. And that's why I think you look at a team like the Bears, they're trying not to be that type of team, even though they might be perceived to be that type of team because of their bad ownership as well. There's a reason we talk about the Raiders, 12 coaches. The Bears, I think, were tied for second on that list with the Browns with 11. They've had to go through a lot because their ownership has just been really bad. And I think they're trying to get a jump on it now with somebody that's an experienced. Everything I've seen with the Bears is they want an experienced coach. They don't want a guy that is a rookie offensive coordinator.
Pete Carroll's the only one. He's the only one.
Yeah, Pete Carroll's the only one there. Joe Brady, again, seems less likely because, like you said,
it's not a head coach.
Because we don't know with Brian Dable, the same kind of thing. Like Brian Dable, like he got Josh Allen the best out of him, but he's not a good head coach with the Giants right now. Maybe there's some skepticism with Brady for that reason. Maybe Brian Flores is that other type of guy to change the culture for the Bears if they want a semi-experienced coach. He coached there for 3 years and obviously was wrongfully treated. And you look at that now, that teams are going to regret that. And the Bears, I think, are going to be thinking of that direction because of that. And there's a reason why Pete Carroll's already got an interview from them. I think they want to jump on that as quickly as they can right away. It'll be interesting to see if they don't get Pete Carroll, if they go back around for McCarthy. But I agree with you. I think McCarthy at this point, there's a reason that Jerry Jones blocked it. I think he's going to go back at this point.
Well, didn't they say McCarthy can't even go interview till next Wednesday?
Well, yeah, because the Cowboys
January
contract,
14th.
the Cowboys contract has to expire first before you can start reaching out to other teams. But I think there's a reason they blocked it. I think Jerry Jones will actually extend him before that.
I think so too.
Well, and that was what I was wondering too. Is you blocked it, and that was the the main headline. But obviously, there's more to it, and I think it's one of those things where, like you said, he's probably the best out there other than Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's 73. Maybe he had the 1 year and he's like, damn these kids, damn these grandkids. I need to get back to football. Because we've seen it before. And he's obviously one of those ones that could probably fit the dynamic of a certain team and the culture of what it is. Because he's kind of been through the tenure of, different eras per se. So it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I think McCarthy, it'll be interesting. I'm really interested to see what happens to Ben Johnson.
I don't think he takes a job. I don't like any. Ben Johnson's he's to me what he is. He's value picking. He wants the perfect team, the perfect fit, and that's where he's going to go. I don't think any of these teams are teams that he says, "Oh, I want that team."
I would have thought that
team.
Yeah, I would have thought that would have been the Bears, but it doesn't look like that's the direction they're going in. They want an experienced guy.
Well, yeah, and they're already. I mean, already said they're going to talk to Matt Campbell. So I think the Bears. Right. But also too, is there a perfect team for you? Yeah, you can say there is, but once you finally get in there and figure it out, you can try to construct all the things that you want. But there's no such thing as a perfect team. If you're,
I thought it would have been the Bengals too.
Tell that to Ben Johnson. He interviewed 5 jobs last year and didn't take one of them. Yep. Every single one of those teams offered him the job, and he wouldn't take them. He's a prima donna.
I'm not disagreeing, but what I'm saying is if you're searching for perfection, you're never going to find it, and that's just going to be the way it is in anything. So how about just work with what you got and make it the best you can. Because perfection is unattainable. Nobody's perfect. Not as a coach, not as a player. What's that?
What position is there that wasn't worse or better than the ones they turned down last year? Because
it's crazy.
We were talking about it, and we're gonna have Doc on it a bit. His Commanders was the team that paid him the most at $16 million, and now it looks like a lot better of a destination than it could have been. There's no obvious one like that, maybe besides the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I agree.
The Jets are not interested in it.
Right.
Also, what's your definition of perfection too? And that's the thing of a perfect fit for. Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
the Bengals would have been, but they kept their guy, so it's not them either.
Well, yeah. I mean, and he's a Nebraska guy, but and it's the same thing. I knew I was going to get one in there.
Only 29 minutes into the show.
It's really bad. It's this list of coaches is just really, really bad. Ben Johnson is probably the more.
Where do you think Brian Flores falls?
The Jets. That's where I think he's going to go. I think Brian Flores. I know Rex Ryan is the lead guy that everybody keeps talking about, but I don't think the Rex Ryan Jets make any sense. I think in the long run, the Jets are looking at a guy that's been successful in the AFC East and a guy that knows how to beat Miami and beat the Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. He beat all three of those teams, and he's a great defensive coordinator. Now, you would have thought that, hey, the Jets are going to bring in an offensive coordinator. The only guy that's really available that everybody speaks high volume of is Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's not even a list of guys that the Jets are interviewing. The only offensive guy they're interviewing is Joe Brady. And Joe Brady's definitely not getting that job.
No.
There's no way he's getting that job. It's either Brian Flores and Rex Ryan. So get ready, Jet fans. It's going to be another defensive coordinator.
Before we get our guest on, Jamie Lee in the comment section, Tom Telesco should have been fired. The Raiders are a lost franchise. And Leighton Dush in the comments, North Carolina has a lot more money than people realize. Belichick has almost all the money to spend in New England.
$10 million.
They offered him $6 million to Quinn Ewers. Yes, they did. And again, an NFL team could definitely offer that too. But again, the Raiders, I think, are very far behind the curve, probably besides the Saints, a team in the head coaching realm, because they lack talent and they have an owner that's very stubborn.
Leighton can't say anything. He's a Duke fan.
Oh, that's right.
The two best teams that have availability right now when it comes to rosters, it's the Bears and the Jets. Out of all the teams, the rosters, the good rosters, it's the Jets and the Bears. Those are the two best rosters. The only thing that the Bears have that the Jets don't have is the Jets don't have a franchise quarterback that's at the good age. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, he's what, 42 years old? I mean, Caleb Williams is 22, 23 years old. He's still a kid. At least you have a franchise player. That's the only problem with the New York Jets when it comes to talent. And that's the most important problem, which has been the problem for the New York Jets for over 50 years. And now, ladies and gentlemen, he's been waiting, and we're very happy to have him. He's been on our show before. We're now talking to former Bengals and Commanders tight end, Rick Doc Walker. Rick, what's up, buddy?
Gentlemen, how you doing?
We're good, man. You look good, man. The last time we saw you, if I'm not mistaken, it was before the playoffs last year, and you look pretty damn good. You look.
I'm hanging in there, man. The team is doing well, so we've got a renewed spirit. It's all good.
You said something the last time you were on. You were talking about who should. I asked you, who do you want to be your head coach, and you said Dan Quinn was one of them. He was one of your top three guys. And look, Dan Quinn is there. He's winning. He's got Jaden Daniels, and you like Jaden Daniels too. Before the draft, you said that if the Commanders had a chance to get Jaden Daniels would be the guy. And boy, you were right. You were right about both guys. They've been sensational. Your thoughts to both guys and the acquisitions they made in the offseason.
Well, dual threat is an equalizer in the NFL, especially if you have a sense of working in the pocket. And the difference between he and Caleb is that Caleb holds the ball. This kid gets rid of the ball. And he climbs the pocket. He doesn't escape it. He can escape it, but he has the ability to step up in the pocket. So it's like, who would I want to face in the playoffs? Give me a stationary quarterback. And everybody was talking here last week, who do you want to play? Even though a guy has won a Super Bowl, I say Rams because I know where he's going to be. Who I don't want to deal with is a guy that has escapability and can break my defense down. Now, there are not a lot of them, but they're all dangerous. But it comes down to me. I'm an O-line, D-line guy. So the team with the best 9, the Fab 5, and 4 ferocious freaks on defense usually ends up in the championship game. No matter how many freaks you have at wide receiver or your running back, that to me separates it, and we'll see if it holds true again.
That's the only problem I think the Commanders have. They don't have a number one wide receiver. That's been their problem. They've been looking at guys. Maybe Tyreek Hill could be a guy they look at in the offseason if he becomes available. I know You don't want him. I wouldn't want him either. But there are other guys that could be available. Devontae Adams, another
Well, they
veteran
do have
guy.
a number one. Scary Terry's a one for them.
Yeah, but a lot of people think McLaurin is more of a 1B. He's not really a 1. Some people say
because they're not in this system. This guy Block, he does everything. So you want a supermodel to walk down the runway. I want an all-purpose guy. It's like receivers come in all shapes and forms. A lot of the guys that you fancy are watching the playoffs. Give me a dog. I want a whole team. I don't want no poodles. I want all dogs. The poodles are all great, but give me a dog. Terry McLaurin is a dog. Now, if they get another legit 2 and a tight end can stretch the field, that's all you need. In Kingsbury's offense, it's about you got 5 at quarterback. All you need to do is protect him and get a defensive end. I don't want a wide receiver. I need a rush in and a corner, and they're fine.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about you talk about the offensive line and the defensive line too. I think the last time we had you on the show, we were talking about a lot of how much of the pass rush they lost in the offseason on defense. And then on the offensive side, they hired Bobby Johnson, who had some bad years with the Giants, but he's done very well with that offensive line. So what do you think the assistant coaches and the building of the talent has been with Washington this year?
Well, that's why they won 12 games. They have a great teaching staff. Most staffs in the NFL are friends and family. So when you can get guys on your staff that can actually coach, your teams are much better. Because I don't care if the guy's your nephew, uncle, or whatever, he's got to be able to help people get better or he's a liability. And because this league is a friends and family league, like most major corporations are, but when you got to teach people a craft and a skill, it's hard to hide people. And so whenever you go from a 4-win season and you flip to 12-win season, it's obviously you uncover frauds. And when guys come in there that are good teachers, presto, and you get a good play caller. And they did this without a dominant running game and and you can run the ball on them. Most teams that win 12 games are dominant in one area. They either stop the run well or they're dominant in run. They were neither or. And they're here because of JD5. This dude put so much pressure on the defense, and they made enough big plays, and they've got leadership. And what these guys are, stripped apart, you might not buy them in an auction, but when you put them all together, they play for one another. And that's why that guy on the screen there is the right coach for them, because DQ galvanizes a team. There's unity there. And their front office, the people they selected have all worked out well. And I think they got a good draw because it's the second time you'll get a chance to see Tampa, and that helps because you saw them week 1 when your rookie quarterback is his first shot. Well, and Todd Bowles, he knows it. He knows how much he's improved. But I guarantee you in the draw, as good as they are, and I love Baker. He's a playmaker. They're stacked. But they would have preferred a guy that's stationary. Everybody would love a guy that's stationary. I don't care who he is. This dude is freaky. And the number of games they've won in the last minute, you can't make this up.
Doc, you made a good point in talking about finding frauds, right? So you bring in a guy like Jaden Daniels coming in, and we've seen rookie quarterbacks just fall flat on their face. What do you think the biggest issue or the biggest, conglomerate to help him be successful and have this season that he's had when it was kind of unexpected with him coming in?
Well, study habits. First of all, he doesn't wake up in the middle of the night to check to see how many likes he has. Any young guy you get now that has broken the spell of social media, that's the first step in the right direction. He's there 5:30 every morning. And he did the same thing at ASU and the same thing at LSU. So he didn't just become this guy with money. He's been this guy. So he's actually not fake. What you get is a real dude. And that's contagious because when your number one pick is a real baller and a gym rat, then that's infectious. He's also a very likable guy. Most guys in his situation have tended to be jerks. Everybody's into this guy. He's cheering for guys, and it's legit. Then they were smart and crafty, and with a great GM, they went out and got Marcus Mariota, who a lot of people had went thumbs down on. They went thumbs up, which shows you once again they know how to assess talent. It was a perfect match for a guy that could mentor a guy with similar skill set. They don't have to change anything when he comes in. Nothing changes. And Marcus shows you that he's been paying attention. He comes right in. It looks seamless. As a matter of fact, he outplayed JD in this last game. So you get a perfect storm, and they've done this without a battering ram. They got Eckler back, and to me, he's their most valuable player outside of JD5. Eckler is a monster, but coming off that concussion, I was surprised he came back. They needed him because B-Rob has been inconsistent, in and out. That ain't cutting it. And Rodriguez, they just refuse to give him more than 5 snaps a game, so I haven't figured that out. But nevertheless, as long as they make good decisions, their problem is penalties. They're turning it over. If they just don't help the opponent beat them, they're going to be a hard out.
We are talking to former Bengals and Commanders tight end Rick Doc Walker. You know, you mentioned the Buccaneers. The last time they met the Buccaneers was, I'm not sure what week it was. I think it was September 8th. It was closer to the beginning of the season. They got their butts whipped. It was 37-20. Baker put up 4 touchdowns. He put up close to 300 yards. Jaden Daniels didn't have one of his better games. He had 184 yards and all that other stuff. I don't think this was a good, when they're comparing teams that they would have been better to match up against, I don't think the Buccaneers was a good matchup for them. And I'm going to tell you why. When you look at the Buccaneers, and what the Buccaneers do very, very well is running the ball. And what has been the problem for the Washington Commanders in the last couple of weeks? Stopping the run. So now you have 2 running backs, pure running backs, and you have Baker Mayfield, who likes to move outside of the pocket, control the time and the clock so he can use the clock to his advantage. This is going to be a problem for Washington against a Buccaneers team that has, by the way, home field advantage because they're playing their home game because they won their division.
I agree. No, I'm a Baker guy. He makes things happen. And he's a finisher. I like him. But in this league, at this point in time, you got to be able to go against everybody. I mean, it's like if you're scared of somebody, you shouldn't even be in it. If I'd have picked, I like to stay in my division. Give me the Eagles because them better than anybody because they're cousins. And their quarterback hadn't played in 3 weeks. And so give me the guy that's coming off an injury. I'm just saying that would have been if I could have picked or the Rams because the guy's stationary. Baker moves. Anybody with mobility at that quarterback position and you can run, that's a problem. Now you can counter the offensive line.
I agree with you with the Rams. I do not agree with you with the Eagles because you have Saquon Barkley you got to deal with. And we were talking about stopping the run. This guy.
But how we played him, again, they played Saquon.
Yes.
3 quarters. Again, it's your cousin. Yes. It's different when you know him. There's no fear factor. You rumble all the time. When you're in the division, it's always different. When you're outside the division, and again, they rumbled with him. Yeah, Jaden, they knocked Jaden out. First of all, we knocked the dude out. Then we go in and get a win. You had him at the link, and you had him for 3 quarters where you're up. They blew you out in a quarter. You fell apart. But that's all you need is that confidence in the division. The only thing I'm saying is that when you're in that division, you expect to play them 3 times a year. You always expect that. That shows you earn your medal. We play you 3 times every year. So that's just me speaking as a guy that went through it. But from the outside looking in, I don't want the guy that can run because that kills your best pass rush when a quarterback with wheels is a deal killer. And that's why the Commanders are dangerous if they can establish a run. And if they get Tyler Badass back at the center position, they're not the same team without him. So he comes in a little wobbly.
Cowboys legend, Tyler. He's trying to get
that dude's he's a dog. I love him.
You sure he's not a poodle like Speedy?
No, ain't no poodle. Straight Rottweiler.
Does it look like I have hair like a poodle? Like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Errol has to get his eyes checked because if he thinks I look like a poodle, that's a different story.
I don't buy that.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy into it either. Don't worry. So I wanted to ask you, going into that playoff game, like players that you would consider an X factor. Like you talk about stopping the run as a concept, but even like individual players that you would consider an X factor in that playoff matchup.
Well, you got to deal with Veda. Veda, I mean, this dude, he ain't going nowhere. And what you got to do is you got to exhaust him out. And you got running at him is not an option. So what you got to do is get him to go side to side, and you got to double him. And anytime you double a guy, you stress the rest. Now it's up to the others. That's why a guy that gets double is worth his weight in gold, because he's taking on two. Well, what are the rest of the guys going to do? We've got guys on our D-line, and guys like to say how often they're doubled. I'm going, well, then that means somebody else is not busting a grape. If you get a guy that gets doubled, then somebody should be making plays. That's what these matches are. And then you get the injury factor. Nobody's 100% at this time. So you got to find out who the backups are. And you're going to target inexperience. I want to know who's got the shortest amount of snaps on the field. That's who I'm targeting in a playoff game. Because everybody's a little shorthanded at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And you find out, and everybody's going to lie to you. They're not going to tell you. You have to see it in the game. As opposed to who's out there, who's Nick. You know, we may put a guy out there, he hadn't practiced, and I don't trust any of that. I want to know who's ready to go, and you don't know until the first quarter.
Yeah, when it comes down to that, and you know, being in the grind and we'll never tell anybody, oh, I feel great.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, when you feel great, you know something bad's gonna happen. When you feel like garbage, you're like, ooh, I might get through this, and this is gonna be it. And when you get to this point, like, where do you think, like Speedy said, the X factor, but where do you think, like, doing the common things uncommonly well, what do you think that just little thing that people may overlook that don't see your perspective when they watch a game where they can delve into it to see
first down efficiency? First down. I mean, you have got to get 3 to 4 yards. You just cannot get sacked on first down, playing behind the chains, becoming predictable. Because Todd Bowles is coming. This dude, I mean, he's a skin. I mean, this dude, I love Todd. Loved covering while he was here. And what they're going to do, it's a chess match. Tampa's never really out of it. Think of last year's playoffs. There's always around it because the way he matches up, if he's got a corner, if he's got his people healthy, and he's coming. So you got to not be in obvious long third and sevens. Stay out of that. So with the hitch game, we got to get Terry involved early. There's been a disconnect right now with JD5 and Terry. Mariota came right in and lit him up, and they got going. Ertz has now got a second life, and then that's been good. Games like this is always the third receiver. This is a difference maker. Somebody's going to make a name for themselves, the second tight end, the third back, somebody that you really haven't game planned that's got their game on, and they make a play. Obviously, turnovers, that's an obvious thing. But you can't miss a field goal within range. You can't shank a punt. You're just trying to force the other guy to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And then chew on it. And then when you get a mistake, you got to score. Not the field goal, 7. This is about how much pressure can you put on the home team.
That's the problem with the playoffs because it's all these teams are very equal. And I've spoken to many different ex-athletes and ex-football players, and they said it's so close. Even the bad teams, that talent is so close to one another, it by a centimeter. So even a 5-12 team like that is not too far from a team that was 15-2. They said. Yeah. So it's crazy how the transition is throughout the season, and it has a lot to do with coaching. You mentioned Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn obviously coached in Hofstra. He was defensive coordinator over here in Hofstra. He has roots over here. I have a lot of respect for Dan. Dan does a lot of stuff over here in Long Island in the off season to help young football players. Your thoughts to the growth of some of these young players? Dan Quinn really changed the the back end of what the Dallas Cowboys defense was for the last 5 years. And then he comes over here and he didn't really change a beat. He came over here. This Washington team lost 3 of their top defensive players at the trade deadline last year. And then he takes over this team. This is one of the, I would say, top 10, top 11 defenses in all of football with the blink of an eye. What does he do to change that determination of his defense that the other coaches didn't do over the last couple of years?
Well, he got rid of everybody that was here that he could. He gutted it. And he didn't care. The first thing you love about a coach is that you can't care where a guy was drafted or what school he went to. That's the problem with the NFL. Nobody cares where you went to school at. That was your treat for school. You come in the league, it means nothing. What round you were drafted, it means nothing. They got rid of the top draft picks that this last group got, and they got rid of all of them. And so he made it very clear about how they do business here, how they warm up. They have a tempo that is so high, you think it's fake. And then you see it time and time again. They've all bought into it. So when you go from a last place team to a team that's made it to the playoffs, the town is lit up. And so you're talking about a 20-year drought. And so people that a little salt and pepper in their beards now are elated. And they've been telling their kids for 20 years that we don't suck. And the kids have just said, okay, all right. And now the kids are going, whoa, wow, they want gear. So everybody's buying gear. This is like the night of the living dead. This place is on fire because of this team. And so now, and then it beat Dallas, and what derailed it was losing to Dallas here when the momentum was really going hard. And Dallas came in and kicked them right in the teeth. And then it was a setback. So to go down there and win the way they won, for a lot of us old beards, it was beating Dallas. That was great because the split will take it. But and these traditions are really, I know it may sound crazy, but that's why college football is so hot. Because college football is generational. And that's why it's so awesome to have the 12 games that are going on in the series, because we always knew there were teams that could beat other teams. They just needed a chance. And so now we're getting this, it's a collegiate atmosphere back here in DC, and it's a beautiful thing. And now we have a chance, but you're going to have to earn it. I don't think Tampa's going to give this away. Now I know I got to figure out whether or not we can take it. And that's what I'm going to find out. We'll know in the first 8 minutes of the game. You're going to know early on, because you mess around and go there and turn this thing over and give that crowd out there Tampa a chance. Although they've come back against damn near everybody, this may be a bit too much.
So moving on to your other team, the Bengals, obviously they've had a very interesting season. They keep Zach Taylor, but they get rid of their defensive coordinator. So what are your thoughts of that move? And also, we've heard these rumblings about should Joe Burrow win MVP because he had the best statistical year of a quarterback. Would you still give it to him even though they missed the playoffs?
Well, I think he's magic. I love watching him. I'm disappointed because I just want to see him work. The way they work, the dude is a freak. And it's just now whether or not they'll spend the money to put things around him, it's not their history. But they may win despite their economic philosophy. But again, it's on them. They had the opportunities. They didn't get the job done. And but the roar is back. I mean, they love football. It's Ohio, man. Ohio in football, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. There's a Cleveland has the Browns backers might be the #1 fan base on the planet. And they haven't won since Jim Brown and them, it seems like. That to me is tradition. I don't judge fan bases by what's modern. The Browns backers, I was doing a game, doing a game on San Diego one year with Westwood One, and they had 30,000 people out in San Diego. That to me is a fan base. They don't go up and down with you. They're in it no matter what. And I think loyalty is that, do you come out when your team is terrible? And they do. That's why I always give them the #1 ranking.
Yeah, John.
Doc,
I got a question. Like, I'm going to switch gears a little bit because
Okay.
now we're getting into obviously the playoffs, and my situation a little different because it's not if I don't show up to play, my season's done. I get a chance, to make up for that. What is your guys' mindset? Because obviously I've never played the game and at that level and be in that situation. Explain to people what that different mindset is when you get to this. It's like, all right, it's win or go home, and how do you create it to where? And everybody uses the cliche, it's just another game. That's a bold faced ass lie.
Yeah.
Like everybody says it, and I get it. I'm guilty of it. I'm a hypocrite. I've definitely said it myself,
Yeah.
but it's not. But for
No.
you guys, it's completely different. And I'd like
Well,
for
as a
our
rookie,
listeners to understand that.
your first preseason game, you're a wreck. And if you're playing in one of these, my first was at Lambeau, and you can't believe you're in Lombardi. I mean, you it's overwhelming. Then next year at Soldier Field, and the stadiums blow you away when you're a rookie. Then you get in the regular season. If your team's not really good, if you're not in the playoffs, they keep talking about the second season. You don't even know what that means. I'm 5 years. All of a sudden, you get into the playoffs, and you're right. It's a completely different game. From the kickoff to where you go, every play is like you're giving every ounce of everything you have each play. Now, you try to do that all year. That's your mindset. But in this, you're thinking a different way, which means you get tired. And that's why you get your second win, because you get exhausted in the first quarter because of the emotion and the adrenaline. Then once you settle down a little bit, then you're into it. But that initial adjustment is overwhelming, especially if you fall behind early because you panic. Because then you realize that the season is over. And so if you can keep that in, that's why I say score first. It's like a load off your back. And then you get it going. But, we've been down. I don't think we were trying to think if we were ever down at the half during the playoffs. But it was, some tight ones. But when we had the MVP of the league, Mark Mosley is your kicker, your advantage is that you're specialists, great punter, great kickers, all the little things you have to cover those things. Cover team, punt coverage, number one in the league, kickoff team, those are the things you got to button down, because the worst thing you can do is give up a return. You want to make them earn it on the field. And then back in the Stone Ages, running backs were really a big thing, and everybody kind of had one. That was it. So tackling and is so special. And then to win one, it's just Monday night. There was no Thursdays back in the Stone Ages, so the thrill of Monday night is overwhelming. The playoffs is bigger than that, and then when you get to the championship game, and you know that if you win it, you go to the Super Bowl. You're hyperventilating. You just cannot even imagine what that's like. And if it's a tight game, and ours, the Niners first one year was down to the fourth quarter, it's tight, and then the Cowboy game we kind of put it on them. So it's overwhelming, and that's what everybody's playing for. Every guy will be doing everything the right way, what he eats, the timing. There'll be wrecks until they can get into this thing, and that's why it's so exciting to watch.
We are talking to former Bengals and Commanders tight end Rick Doc Walker. Rick, before we let you go, my question for you, and by the way, you say the Stone Age. Are you hanging out with Fred and Barney?
Hey man, look, it's 49 years ago.
That's not the Stone Age.
49 years ago, we beat Ohio State in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, I remember.
49 years ago, and it was brought to my attention last week on Kevin Sheehan's podcast. You don't think of things like that. You don't even imagine that. They had Archie Griffin and, Pete Johnson, all the studs they had out there. But this is what time it flies. You don't even imagine that.
I do.
But I played in Super Bowl 17 and Super Bowl 18.
It's crazy, man. It is crazy.
50s, and it's crazy. And then when you cover them and you're there covering them, or you're in this. It's just how it's become what it's become now. It's mind-boggling, and so that's why this is so exciting just to be a part of it, just to watch.
So Mr. Mind Blower, who do you have going to the Super Bowl, and who do you have winning?
The best two teams that I've seen.
Yes.
Physically, Philadelphia and Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Because Kansas City, I take Kansas City until somebody kills them.
Mm-hmm.
They're like Jason. They just don't die. I don't care. I have to see them execute it. And then to me, Philadelphia is they're a juggernaut if they can get their internal issues settled. Because O-line, D-line, they kill you. Mm-hmm. Receivers, they kill you. I mean, D-line, they're built like a Sherman tank.
Mm-hmm.
And that they've got jets on the outside. They've got all this stuff. But when you're not mentally on the same page, it's like having one wire that's loose. And that one wire might be loose enough to where they don't connect properly. And I don't care what anybody says.
That's because they all play for Georgia. That's why. That's why they're all loose.
When a receiver when a star receiver and a quarterback have a disconnect, that is an issue. And when guys are talking about getting passes and they're undefeated or they only have one loss, I'm scratching my head. What? Aren't we just supposed to try to win the game? I mean,
that's what I said.
Aren't we trying to win a Super Bowl? I mean, so they're messy to me. But in terms of physical talent, when I look at them, I go, it's up to them. And if Baltimore could ever, it's not just Baltimore, but if their quarterback would simply not cut his rabbit ears off, not give a hoot about what the public considers him is, and just be the baddest creature on the planet, that to me could be a wrap.
Yeah.
But he doesn't run when he gets in these things.
He's got mental issues in the playoffs. He's just not the same player he is in the regular season.
His offensive coordinator, to me, should have been boiled in oil. I mean, I don't know how last year I took them against Kansas. I never go Kansas City. I go, why would I do that? And I thought last year Baltimore is a lock, and that's why I don't wager, because I would have been broke. Because I thought there was no way. They were built like a tank, and they went in there and pussyfooted around. And Kansas City's just it's a great, because they've got two geniuses offensively as their coordinator and defensively.
Yes.
And when you've got two geniuses working and an unselfish group, totally unselfish. Show me the jerk. Where's the jerk? Jerk-free unit.
First of all, you get an old head, they give you the best sayings ever. Boiled and oiled. I'm a footnote that, because I'm definitely going to use.
He said
pussy. I've heard that one, but boiled and oiled.
No. The most important thing, Doc, you mentioned that the Eagles have a lot of Jets on the outside. That includes Jets legends Bryce Huff and Mekhi Becton.
Why do you always bring up the Jets?
The Jets.
Yeah, can we go without a show talking about the damn Jets?
I don't want to hear about the Jets. The Jets aren't even
You
in the
got
playoffs.
to talk about the Jets. That's what they do. They get headlines.
Yeah,
that's
thank you.
They're number one at. They're
Thank you,
number
Doc.
one in headlines.
Thank you for making me sick to my stomach.
Oh boy.
Anyway,
who are you going to hire?
Oh boy.
Yeah,
who are you going to hire?
I think it's Brian Flores. That's who I want. If there's any of those guys,
Can New York handle him?
I think they could. I think Brian Flores could actually handle.
I think he's awesome.
Yeah, I think he can handle New York. I think he's got that temperament, and he doesn't give a crap. You can tell he doesning give a crap. He's come out and said it, and that's what you need. You need a coach.
And they got talent on that side of the ball.
Oh,
they
have a they had the third best defense in all of football this year, and of the whole league. And how do you win 5 games with the third best overall defense in all of football? It doesn't make sense. It's coaching. I'm telling you, you get the right coach, you win. Look, Dan Quinn did for the Commanders. It's a fact. You bring in the right guy and the guy with the right temperament, it changes everything. The whole outlook to the organization. And the Jets, of all the teams that are available, I've said it, them and the Bears, I think the Jets have more talent than the Bears, but them and the Bears have the most talent. Those are the two teams you would want to coach if you want to win now. So that's
They're
my
both
opinion.
really talented, and
Yes.
both are the night of the living dead upstairs.
That's true too.
So I'm just saying, you don't care what you say. We lived it through here.
Yeah.
Tell you cut the head of the snake off, brother. You ain't gonna. You just kidding yourself. When you picking players off Madden, I mean, you got no.
I don't believe that. That's not true. That is not a true story. I've been saying this. When that story came out, that is a bunch of bull dinky, okay? I'm not even going to tell you what I really think. And whoever came out with
I'm just
story
saying, Chicago.
and do that, it's bull crap.
Chicago Harbaugh is a bear.
Mm.
And they let a personal issue. That shows you right there they're not business. Oh, he don't like Jim. Well, you don't want to win.
Mm-hmm.
Then you don't want to win. How you like them now? How 10 in a row off? How'd that work out for you? And the Jets. I feel bad for the guys that just wanted to have a good season.
Yeah.
I feel bad for so many careers get crushed because there's no penalty for everybody makes a profit no matter how ridiculous you are. Yeah. I like it over in soccer. I like it overseas where they reprimand you for being
European football. You'll piss those soccer players off.
But the league they'll take your program. They will punish you for being stupid.
Yep.
Here it's a shame. Program. Yeah. Hey, if you're a Jets guy, man, I pray for you because I love Joe Willie.
No, I'm a Jets and Eagles guy. I've for years I grew up a Donovan McNabb fan. He's been my favorite player growing up. I love Donovan. The Jets always sucked, so I always rooted on Donovan McNabb. I love Andy Reid, but I don't like that Andy Reid is the Chiefs coach. Okay, so I want Andy to do well, but I don't want.
You guys ran him out.
What? I'm sorry.
You ran him out.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Well.
Don't worry, they ended up hiring the great Chip Kelly after that.
Yeah, well, what am I going to do?
That's what Chip Kelly said to all the Eagles core players at that point, mainly LaShawn McCoy.
Anyways, Doc, we really appreciate the time. Enjoy the playoffs, and we will be speaking to you. Are you going to the Super Bowl, my friend?
Don't think so. No. I'll be doing post game here, and I'll be watching. I've done them. I've covered 4 of them, and it's great. It's nothing like playing in them. Covering them is pain in the rear. I usually like to get out before the game. Well, I was in Detroit.
Right.
I'd never been to. I always wanted to be in Vegas for a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So the last time it was in Detroit,
last year
Saturday I flew out.
Did you go last year?
No. It was in Detroit.
It was in last year was in Vegas, wasn't it? Last
year was in Vegas.
It was in Vegas. Did you go last year?
No. Before it ever went, that was the first time.
Right.
I just wanted to be there for Super Bowl because I heard all the stories about it, and they're all true. Mm-hmm. It's because they're betting on every play.
Oh, sure.
So every play in a casino, somebody's screaming, and it's crazy. So I left Detroit. I bet it was Steelers and Seahawks. Steelers and
that's right.
Big Ben was in it. Yeah, Steelers were in it.
Right. It was Steelers.
And I left, and it was nothing like it. It was amazing. They were amazing to be at. But if you're not sitting at the right place, I was at the Bengals Niners, and so it was, and then the Giants, and I was in Tampa when the Giants
Broncos.
Giants Broncos.
Yeah.
It's like if you're there, if you're in the media, you get the worst seats.
I know.
And so
yeah.
But it's an experience. Like, and New Orleans would be, if I could pick one, Miami was phenomenal, but then there were storms on the east.
I hated it. I was
there.
I hated it.
You were there for that one? Okay.
I was there. I hated it.
Yeah, and so it was kind of cool to get. There were storms here in the east, so we couldn't get here. And wife didn't really lie. Look, I'm stuck in Miami.
I know she didn't like that.
No, that ain't gonna
Women
work.
with big behinds and you know,
Super Bowl.
big boobies, right? Doc,
Super
you
Bowl
like
is well, and also when the memorial when we were celebrating, it was crazy. Miami did a great job because they had the tombstones all throughout going around down the beach in memory of our veterans that we love. They did a great job with that. So, no, man, Super Bowls are great. I feel bad for the lives that were lost in New
100%.
Orleans.
Yes.
And the way the world is right now, you know, I'm no longer a fan of the big events. I'll pass, and I'll be a spectator.
I'll protect you, Doc. I'll protect you.
Okay, well then maybe I'll change my mind.
I've got super
I
power.
tell you what, when the Jets are in the next one, I'll be at that one.
That will be never. How's that? Thank you, Doc. We love you.
Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Rick Doc Walker, fantastic personality. By the way, this guy was a great football player and had a great career as a broadcaster. He still works for the Commanders. He's just fantastic. Everything about him, he's fantastic. And we always love getting him on the show because he's just got a straight up personality. He doesn't give a crap, and he just tells you how it is. As he said, pussyfoot. I like that. I'm going to use that now. It's going to be a new line for me. Pussyfoot.
Oh, boy.
Pussyfoot.
Boy, you never heard that before?
I've heard it, but I don't use it. I'm going to use it now. Pussyfoot.
I'm going to use boiled and oiled. I'm definitely using that one.
Oh, God.
Boiled.
That could go in a lot of different directions.
Pussyfoot.
100%.
Maybe even in the next segment, we'll be talking about Patriots. Why we know Robert Kraft likes his oil.
Speedy's putting out his pussyfoot. Anyways, when we come back, a lot more football to get into. As is this is a football show. But first, our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
3, 2, 1. This is the Jabba and the Mouth Sports Minute.
All right, you already know the scoop. Back with another Sports Minute here on Jabba in the Mouth. And as the playoffs are here, I'm going to start off with some NFL because the Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts was actually limited in practice today on the field for the first time since his concussion against the Commanders. But Hurts will be monitored throughout the week before his Packers wildcard matchup. And in other news with the coaching carousel currently in full swing, the Jaguars have actually requested to interview defensive coordinator for the Vikings, Brian Flores. As Flores, who was a former defensive coordinator and was the Dolphins head coach, can actually get his first chance at coaching again for the first time since the 2021 season. And to finish up over on the NBA court, the Warriors are actually not set on trying to trade for Zion Williamson, as the Pelicans are not likely to trade him at all, with the team even saying that makes absolutely no sense to trade him. And keeping it with the NBA, for Scoops to Scores, the Knicks have a 75-62 lead over the Raptors, while the Pistons have a 79-64 lead over the Nets. The Cavaliers currently have a 2.114-112 lead over the number one team in the league, the Thunder, while the Pacers have a 120-101 lead over the Bulls. The Wizards and 76ers are currently tied at 98 points apiece, while at halftime, the Trailblazers have a 75-42 lead over the Pelicans. And currently in the NHL, the Capitals have a 1-0 lead over the Canucks, while the Blackhawks have a 2-1 lead over the Avalanche. And that is all the time I have for you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to kick it back to the boys for the continuation of Jabba and the Mouth.
Any questions?
We're back. This is the Jabba and the Mouth Show.
Pain! Duh! Goodbye. Not me! You know what? 631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to Jabba and the Mouth. I'm your host, Sarah Marks, my co-host, Jabba Chamberlain and Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including Jabba in the Mouth every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And our show is brought to you by Ice Shaker, ladies and gentlemen. These beautiful cups, as you see right now, founded by former NFL fullback Chris Gronkowski. Ice Shaker was developed with one goal in mind: to help people live an active and healthy lifestyle by providing them with an ultimate drinking vessel for their nutrition and hydration needs. Ladies and gentlemen, go to iceshaker.com and shop all of their official licensed collections from Marvel and Star Wars and so much more. Enjoy free shipping when you spend $75 or more. Go to iceshaker.com to check out all the great products and deals. IceShaker.com. Get your wonderful, beautiful cup. As we have them right here. We're drinking, we're slamming and damming, dishing and swishing, as Walt Clyde Frazier always says. So get yourself an ice shaker. Look at those Kansas City Chiefs ice shaker, Giants, Detroit, and you can get your Super Bowl ice shaker. I'm sure they have as well. So go to iceshaker.com. Thank you to Doc Walker for joining us. He was fantastic as always. He's a great personality, does such great work for the Commanders. And when he comes on, he gives you these word plays and many different vocabulary things that we can use in many different segments. So, ladies and gentlemen, our pussyfoot is all ready. Sports Illustrated, Albert Breer, said that the NFL should investigate the Patriots for manipulating the Rooney Rule, which requires NFL teams to interview 2 minority head coaches. Breer mentioned rushing interviews with Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton on Tuesday just to get a faster interview with Mike Vrabel, who is scheduled to meet with the Patriots tomorrow. He also mentioned that both Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton have not coached in the NFL since being offensive coordinators in 2022. He called the process a sham, and that both guys would be lucky to get assistant coaching positions after not coaching in the NFL for 2 years. The Patriots insider Phil Perry reports that the Patriots are expected to make a decision on their new head coaching job by the end of the week. The Saints, the Bears, the Raiders also had interviewed schedules for Vrabel coming up next week. Reports say that the Raiders are expected to be heavily after Vrabel if they don't get Bill Belichick, with both Tom Brady and Richard Seymour being minority owners of the team. Well, it's pretty interesting, this whole story, and we've said this Rooney Rule should be the number one thing the NFL should be investigating as these head coaching jobs become available every single year. A lot of teams have a problem with it. I don't know why. Byron Leftwich, I think, would be a very good head coach in the NFL. He's been a good quarterback coach. We've seen what he's done when he was in with the Jaguars organization. He was a good offensive coordinator too when he was an offensive coordinator as well. I just think, obviously, guys like Brian Flores, who obviously, if anybody remembers that story with Miami, this was the problem. Brian Flores complained that the Rooney Rule was not being implicated in any of or from any of these teams. He complained about Pittsburgh. He complained about many different organizations that they're not interviewing black head coaches. It's been a big problem for the NFL. Roger Goodell should be dropping the hammer on these teams. You should be, if teams are not doing this, they should be losing a high draft pick. I wouldn't say a first round, but a second or third round, they should absolutely lose. It has been a big problem. The NFL obviously investigating and saying that it's a sham, and Albert Breer coming out and saying what he says. He's not wrong, but what does Albert Breer know about what these teams are doing on and off the field? Now, obviously, their stories, and obviously they have an inside source, but those sources don't give you the guaranteed interviews that they're interviewing every single week, week by week, day by day, second by second. I've seen it. Look at the Jets. When they interviewed Robert Saleh, the first time they interviewed Robert Saleh was on Zoom. That's how they interviewed Robert Saleh. He wasn't called in. It's different now. The world is different. You can digitally interview a coach. So how do you know what, I don't know, Woody Johnson is doing? How do you know that Woody Johnson didn't interview 5 African-American head coaches? You don't know what he was doing. But obviously you're insinuating, saying that there are teams not doing that. You're not probably wrong. But the Patriots are an organization that Robert Kraft has gotten away with practically everything. Do we want to go back on all the things that they've been caught for? Everybody wants to point their fingers at Bill Belichick. And Robert Kraft wanted to point his fingers at Bill Belichick on the Dynasty show. But guess what? He is the owner. If you don't think he has an inside source and you don't think he is the source, then you're effing blind. This guy knows what's going on, as he loves to go to those hand gesture places to have his thingy played with. Okay? So if you're going to tell me right now, hand gesture places. Yes. Honest to God, if you think of the situation for what it is, Robert Kraft and Roger Goodell are probably hanging out at those parlors. I think this is an absolute sham as well. But I'm not going to insinuate anything on what Robert Kraft was doing because I'm not hanging on his wall. Maybe I'm hanging on his underwear if he's out again at one of those places. I'm sure everybody's got their hands in his pants. But nevertheless, I'm not going to tell you who he hasn't interviewed. So do I think this is a problem? 100%. Do I think the NFL has done nothing for it? I absolutely believe that too. But do I want to insinuate and say that I know who the Patriots interviewed and who they didn't? I don't know. So why are we even bringing this up?
Yeah, you look at I think it's more the quality of the candidates that they're looking at, because Byron Leftwich was a hot commodity a couple of years ago as a head coaching candidate and really didn't get anything there. And I don't know.
They're the interviewer.
Yeah, maybe that's the case. Maybe this thing is held
Look at Eric Bieniemy
back. Eric Bieniemy is another huge example of that, because Eric Bieniemy should have been hired 5 years ago to get a head coaching position. Even when Patrick Mahomes first started breaking out with the Chiefs, like that's when Eric Bieniemy should have gotten a head coaching job, and a lot more interviews that he ended up getting. And okay, yeah, you want to say bad interview all you want, but at what point does a team just have to take a chance on these good candidates and these good minority candidates, and settling for Pep Hamilton, who I think was an offensive coach from Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck were in Indianapolis? Like, that's kind of an outdated one at this point. It's like saying, all right, let's try to bring back Marvin Lewis. Like the Jets are trying to
Speedy, remember when Brian Flores got in trouble and everybody said, and all these writers, including Albert Breer, came out and said that Brian Flores will never get another head coaching job ever again after this whole thing.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, was he wrong. Because Brian Flores is one of the lead candidates to get one of these jobs.
Right.
So I can't wait to poop on Albert Breer's little interviewing board, or his little board of what he writes on every single time he writes a damn story. He's an idiot. These guys just write to hear themselves talk. It's an absolute sham that they have to open up their mouth. Brian Flores is absolutely getting a job this offseason. 100%.
Yeah.
You could book it and seal it. Yep. He's going to have a job.
Yeah, and again, I think you look at the organizations that have those kind of reputations of passing up those types of coaches that need those types of things to be able to transform their team culture. You saw that with the Texans last year. The Texans were another team that were in hot water with a lot of the things they were doing. That's why Andre Johnson got frustrated with them at the end of his career. DeAndre Hopkins got frustrated with them a couple of years ago, and then getting traded to Arizona. And they had some Patriots guys in their front office, coincidentally, too, and still do. And they finally bucked the trend and actually hired a quality African-American head coach in DeMeco Ryans, who's done a very good job transforming that team. And now the Patriots need to get that kind of thing in mind. Like, why is Brian Flores not their first call? He's a quality option in addition to, you don't have to, again, not every coach is going to deserve it. Like, we're talking about Antonio Pierce. Like, Antonio Pierce, I don't think he got fired because of his race. Like, a lot of people are accusing of that. But there's coaches that are deserving of it, like Brian Flores. And why is he not the first interview? Why is they settling for these outdated guys? Not the Byron Leftwich is outdated, but Pep Hamilton, like seriously, like Lovie Smith, when the Texans hired him at the time, like he hadn't coached in like 9 years. Like it was like with the Jets and Rex Ryan. Like these are guys that aren't coaching
college.
He was coaching at college.
In the NFL.
Yeah, he coached at Illinois, right? But even so, like these are guys that aren't established with the newer game as much. Like if the Bengals hypothetically were to bring back Marvin Lewis, like the Jets are trying to do with Rex Ryan, like that's a guy that hasn't coached in forever. Like these are not the coaches.
Big mistake for the New York Jets.
Oh, I know. I'm not disputing that.
Big mistake if they do that.
These are guys that are just outdated. Like, why are you not going after these better options, either as coordinators or like somebody like Brian Flores that should have never been run out of Miami like he was? And that's bringing a whole ripple effect to that lawsuit and all these other coaches for years that have been betrayed of not getting these jobs.
First of all, what the hell does it matter what your skin color is? If you're a great coach, I don't care if you're purple, green, yellow, got 7 toes, you got 4 eyes, you got 3 nipples. Who cares?
If you got 3 nipples, I want to see them.
I mean, I would too. That would be cool. But
3 nut sacks? I mean, Speedy, you know all about that, right? You don't have 3 nuts?
No.
I thought you did. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, but my point being is, like, I get what they're saying, and it's like, oh, they're blatantly doing this just because they put in the rule in 2003 is when it actually got established. But it hasn't really, I guess. Let's talk about it hasn't come to the head, right? And now it has, when it's like, I don't, if you're giving me the best coach, I don't care what he is. There is no skin color when it comes down to putting us in the best situation. And the fact that we still have to worry about this and still talk about this is very, very sad. And we live in a crazy world, and it's one thing to see, but it's also one thing to like try to, I wouldn't say take advantage, but like to kind of instigate certain things that they're only doing this just to get to a certain, I guess, what would you call them, prospect? I guess that's what you call it, right? But it doesn't make sense to me. Like, okay, so why can't that, like, does it matter if they have to do 2 months before they get to, like, I just don't understand. I get whatever it is, but does it really matter? In any aspect, don't we hire on what's best for what it is? And I know that's not the case, and I'm not stupid, but shouldn't it be that way to where we're not having these conversations where you have to do this and then, okay, well, you did this, you followed protocol, now you have to do this. I just think it's absolutely asinine that the world we live in today, where that is even an issue. Like, who cares? If you're the best for what we need, I don't care if it's a chick. I don't care what it is. If you're the best for what we need, whether it's analytical, whether it's coaching, whether it's the mental strength side of it, whether there's so many dynamics that go into it, what the hell does it matter? I don't get it.
Go ahead, Fish.
Well, Jabba, I don't get racism either, other than I've seen it my entire life. I've seen it
it's still
prevalent in the media, prevalent in politics, prevalent in sports, prevalent everywhere, and especially prevalent amongst billionaire owners who are owning these teams. So I think that the whole reason they put the rule in the first place were to force these owners to consider some of these other coaches, so that younger kids that are growing up see Black coaches and Black kids, and just like, they can identify as something that they can grow up, just like we talk about with Caitlin Clark, with girls, wanting to see someone that special, and then more girls are going to play. And as you know, because of this, we're going to have better and better female athletes. And this is all good stuff. That's why they created the rule, except the rule was very, very flawed. Because if you think about any like CEO, that they want to hire somebody, a new CEO, a company, they just go do that. They don't go, oh, we got to interview a bunch of other not good candidates because of their skin color first, because they want the best guy, because someone else will snatch him up. And it's just kind of, teams are going to find a way around it. Leftwich and Pep Hamilton are not serious candidates for head coaching jobs. They're just paying lip service to the rule by doing this. And you can argue that they didn't technically do anything wrong because they followed the Rooney Rule, but not the spirit of the Rooney Rule. But if you look at, I don't want to get too political, but the Supreme Court ruled down affirmative action last year. I would teach social studies. What does that mean? Well, it was trying to give people a leg up because of those things we said before. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean the best candidate gets the job or the position in a college or what have you because of that. And that's what's going on here. And this is an affirmative action type of policy, and it meant well. It's just they need to do something to fix it. It's just not working right, and teams are finding ways around it. What do you think, Owen?
My point is like, if Mike Tomlin comes out and the Steelers move on, he's going to get a bunch of interviews. Marcus Freeman, if he didn't sign a extension, he would have got a bunch of interviews. Teams are going to hire or interview the candidates that they think best. Rooney Rule or not, it doesn't matter. Yeah, they'll get an interview, but it's just like wasting each other's time. Because if they want Mike Vrabel at the Patriots, they can interview 40 candidates that are African-American and just be like, hey, we want Vrabel. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, like, teams and CEOs, GMs are going to hire who they want to hire. Yeah, I get why it was implemented. I get there wasn't as many African-Americans getting head coaching looks, but at the end of the day, they're going to hire the best candidates. Like I said, Mike Tomlin, Steelers move on. Every single team would be stupid not to interview him. So he's going to get interviews. He's going to get those chances because he's proven. He's had a track record. He has been that guy. So I think I get the rule, but at the same time, teams are going to do what they're going to do.
I agree with you. And I do believe that if the team has one candidate that they are absolutely going to hire, or that he's their number one target, that's going to be the one they're targeting. And it doesn't matter who they're interviewing and how many.
But why is the minority stuck to one race? That's the only one they talk about.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, they
how
only
the
mentioned some of the
NFL
other ones recently. I think
Yeah.
with Robert Saleh was Errol mentioned one of them.
Renee Canales. I mean, Renee
Dave
Canales.
Canales.
Dave Canales. Dave Canales
Mike
is,
McDaniel
is
as
Puerto
well, I
Rican,
think, some
Spanish,
Arabic as well.
So there are a lot of these different guys from different countries and different minority groups and families that they come from. I mean, eventually there's going to be a Chinese coach, and eventually there's going to be a woman head coach. It's going to happen one way or another. Sports has transitioned in many different ways. Like you just mentioned, Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark changed women's basketball. And now what does that open up?
Not if you ask Angel Reese.
Well, Angel Reese is on her little, her little magazine. What do they call that? That magazine trend where she was in, I think she was on GQ, and now she's doing all these different magazines at the end of the season. She's jumping from one magazine to the other. And there's a lot of hatred for Caitlin Clark. I don't understand it. I still don't understand it. It's jealousy. But nevertheless,
Did you see Shaq go on Angel Reese's podcast?
Yes.
And just give her the business?
Yes. But you see, Shaquille O'Neal stands by what he believes in. And he said, while this was going on, he said that Caitlin Clark was good for the WNBA. And she's helped the WNBA get looks where they probably weren't going to get looks without her being there and being center stage for the WNBA. It's just a shame. And again, going back to Brian Flores was, there were so many writers saying he's never going to get another job. He's never going to get interviewed because of what he did. He threw the NFL under the bus. Why do you think that this is going on right now? It's because of Brian Flores. Brian Flores dropped their hammer on the NFL, and every single writer, including Albert Breer, came out and said, this man's never getting another coaching job. Boy, oh boy, he better be eating his words after this, because that man is getting hired.
I get what you're saying, too. And like Fish even said, it's like you're trying to grow the game. So what is it like bringing different aspects into the game, whether it's race, gender, whatever it is? And I don't like to go this way with this show, but like, isn't it to try to build and grow an audience of all different shapes, sizes, colors? Like, isn't that what sports are supposed to do? Like, we're not out here curing cancer. Like, we're out here to give you joy and love for what the game you love. And then, maybe a kid that didn't think he would have a chance, he's like, you know what? I looked up to whoever it is, or a little girl that looked up to whoever it is, or a little boy who looked up to whoever it is. Now they build and grow the sport because they love it. Like, isn't that the whole purpose of all this?
No, because the NFL thinks, hey, we're a multi-billion-dollar organization. We don't really care. We're going to make billions and billions of dollars, just like the NBA comes out and says the things that they say, and Adam Silver lets LeBron James or LeBum come out and do the things that he is doing on and off the court. It's not right. You don't use the platform. You don't use the NFL platform, the NBA platform, the NHL platform for your own use. It is an organizational platform. And Roger Goodell does it too. He likes to step in and attack the players, but he uses the platform too for not good for the sport. He uses it for himself. He came out, remember when he was getting that new deal? He came out and he was speaking to the NFL, and it leaked. Somehow it leaked, because he leaked it, that he wanted a
somehow, right?
Somehow. He wanted him and his family to have benefits for life. He also leaked that he wanted over $50 million. He also leaked that he wanted his own jet, and he got it all. Why? Because he leaked it. And that's what these guys do. They don't want to do it. What did they dropped their hammer on Colin Kaepernick. Right. They dropped their hammer on this kid, okay? Because of what he did. Do I think he was right for what he did? No, I don't. But you dropped the hammer on a kid that is never going to play professional football again, and he comes out and speaks his feelings towards anything, and it's not okay when he does that, but everybody else is allowed to do it, and they get away with it. It doesn't make sense. You can't spin the wheel and make the deal one way and not spin the wheel and make the deal the other way. It is absolutely ludicrous. And the NFL is the number one organization that allows this to go on. And that's Roger Goodell and his stupidity and his bunch of muffs over there in New York City. I say muffs because they're a bunch of idiots. Every single one of them. And we try to get them on the show all the time. They don't want to come on this show because they know what's going to happen if they do. I have said it many, many times, and I'll say it again. The NFL is an organization that is done one way and one way only. What the owners want and what Roger Goodell thinks the owners want. And that's it. And if he gets what he wants, he's happy. He doesn't care what happens to the players. Barry Sanders said on the Pat McAfee show that Saquon Barkley and the Eagles offensive line should both win the NFL MVP this season. He referenced him and Brett Favre sharing the MVP award in 1997 and says he hopes the NFL does that concept more often. He mentioned how Saquon would have definitely broken his record in 2005 yards that season if he played in Week 18, even if he didn't break Eric Dickerson's record. Saquon finished with 2,005 rushing yards and 13 rushing touchdowns in 17 games, and also had 278 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns this season. Saquon's odds to win the MVP is plus 8,000, third highest behind Lamar Jackson with 320, and the betting favorite, Josh Allen, at minus 450. Well, Saquon Barkley, to me, as far as I'm concerned, was the MVP of the league. I think he changed everything for the Eagles. And if the Eagles, like you heard Doc thinks the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. That says a lot when he said he would rather play the Commanders than the Buccaneers. Why would Doc say that if he's saying that he believes the Eagles are going to play Kansas City in the Super Bowl? Okay? It says a lot about this Eagles team. Now, obviously the talent is there. The offense is as explosive as any team in football. You look at Devontae Smith, you look at A.J. Brown, you look at every single player on this roster. Saquon Barkley, Goddard. This is a great all-around offense and a great offensive line, even without Jason Kelce. And you look at what the offensive line has done for Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley has played on one of the worst offensive lines in football for the last 7 years with the Giants. He's never had a really good offensive line. He comes to a line that's fantastic. And his first year, he almost broke Eric Dickerson's record. Just think about that. If the Giants did one thing, and they did it right, this Giant team would have been a Super Bowl contender a long time ago. You know what that was? Build your offensive line and give Saquon running room. Well, the Eagles did that. They paid Saquon, and you see what the transition of this offense and this team has been this year than they have been over the last couple of years. And by the way, it's not Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts' numbers are nowhere close to what they were when he got all that money that 2 years ago in that offseason. He has not even been close to those numbers. It has been all Saquon Barkley. You look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. Saquon Barkley, when he is in the game and he is at 100%, they're winning the game almost at 90%. They have only lost 3 games this year. 2 of the games that they lost, Saquon was not playing in it. So that says a lot. That spells something, and it smells like something. It smells like Saquon is the MVP.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Eagles have always churned out offensive linemen very well, even before Jason Kelce. They were always developing a lot of those teams with Andy Reid there, had great offensive lines as well. And they always had that running back in the past, but it took a while for them to find it after LaShawn McCoy. When LaShawn McCoy got traded to Buffalo, they had these random good running back seasons, but they never had something like Saquon Barkley, which is just dynamic to do everything. So that combination was inevitable in order to make that kind of thing work. And yeah, you have a lot of guys that are playing hybrid positions this year too. You have somebody like your guy Jabba, Cam Jurgens, drafted as a guard, moved to center. They have obviously Mekhi Becton, we were talking about before, playing guard.
Hey, where's he from?
Yes, I know Nebraska. That's why I brought it up.
Just check.
Landon Dickerson was a center at Alabama, transitioned to guard very nicely, and they made that kind of thing work, and they always have done that. And now you're accelerating it with a uber talented running back as an athletic freak in Saquon Barkley. Yeah, that kind of thing is going to be inevitably work. And it's interesting Barry Sanders bringing up the co-MVP. I'm actually surprised that kind of thing. I mean, it happens in baseball a few times over history, but yeah, in football, it's one of those things that's tough to tell if it's a team sport. But yeah, they definitely deserve that kind of credit. It's interesting they don't do that kind of concept more often.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they get their good Christmas gifts as we've seen in the past and all that stuff. And I mean, I get it and I understand where he's coming from, but I guess I will never understand being Barry Sanders and what he did and how important his front five is, right? And how they protect him. I mean, it's the same reason Tom Brady was never the highest paid quarterback, because he's like, pay this guy to cover my ass. Like, please and thank you. I don't want to get hit. And, you know, I think it's huge. And you see all these times where they're doing interviews and it's like, you know, I have to thank the boys in front of me because, you know, it gave me the opportunity to do X, Y, and Z. So I think it's very important. And if you overlook when you get a dynamic back and you don't have that, it doesn't matter how good he is. Like, he can only do so much with what he has. If he has to make it happen all the time, then he's going to get beat down. He's going to get hurt. He's going to be tired. But when you get the opportunity to have those guys in front of you that sell out for you and to make sure that we're in this together and not just individually, then we're gonna be great. And I think that's the one thing where when he says co-MVP, I think he truly believes it, because he would not have been and he retired way before he should have been done. But good for him, because I was like, I want to play with my kids. I want to have a body. We will talk about this later too, in that same aspect with somebody I'm going to talk about. And you got to respect it, because this game is hard. We've seen some of these guys and what has happened to them. So I mean, I can't hate on it, because at the same time, it's like, yeah, I can be a Cy Young winner, but I got 7 dudes behind me and 1 dude in front of me. Like, that's still got to take care of me too. And so it's completely different, and they're allowed to do those things because of those people. And not only that, but you got your tight ends, your receivers, all the other stuff. And so could you do a team shared MVP with, like, could they pick to do that? Like,
not with the offensive line. Not with the offensive line. I don't think that's going to happen.
If you're going to do what he's talking about, you better give a MVP to the front office. I mean, they might have got the coach wrong, but getting AJ Brown, getting Devontae Smith, they can't load the box. They got Goddard at tight end who can block and receive. You might as well give the whole front office a round of applause and said, hey, they did this thing right. They drafted Cam Jurgens 3 years ago to replace Kelsey. Like, they knew what they were doing. They're doing their thing.
So could you do 2 MVPs?
You're ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
could you do like a front office MVP and then like a
because they're such an advantage of them not being able to load the box, because you got AJ Brown and Devontae Smith able to take the top off. Like, they got a stacked team, and I'm not doubting they're going to go to the Super Bowl this year, probably.
Well, the last time the NFL had co-MVPs was 2003, when Peyton Manning and Steve McNair split the vote 16 each. I didn't know that until I just looked it up. So it's been 21 years. It's 21 years since then, and I think it happened one other time in the 90s as well. So it does happen. So Barry Sanders is the reason why we're bringing this up in the first place, and I got the pleasure to cut some Barry Sanders highlights, so I might as well play them while we're talking about this. He ran for 2,000. He ran for 2,000 yards famously, and his offensive line. I have the picture on the top right if you're watching along with us. He was carried off the field, and it was really one of these really remarkable moments for Detroit history, Lions history at least. I don't know about the whole city of Detroit, but some would say yes on that. Look how great he was. It's just unbelievable, the stuff they did. And Saquon Barkley's the closest thing, like
100%.
plays the closest way to him, man. And when he was drafted by the Giants, I was just like, man, we got our Barry Sanders. And we really did, but we didn't surround him. Just like Barry Sanders wasn't surrounded correctly in Detroit for most of his
He didn't
career
need
as
to
well.
be. He really didn't. He's better than Saquon, but Saquon's the closest thing to him.
Fish, you remember?
I completely agree.
On the show, he actually mentioned that the first time when Errol and him got into a big debate over that because Eddie said the same thing when he was a Giants.
Yeah, 100%.
I literally sat there and I was cutting highlights for this, and I got another one to show you of him breaking the 2,000 yards. I believe against the Jets, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
but
not surprised.
But I got caught up watching 3-yard runs of Barry Sanders because he would make 5 guys miss, and he would juke people out of their shoes. And I mean, look at that one. The guy just broke his ankles.
That was
again.
against the Jets.
Like, who falls that way? That was the Jets.
That. Yes, I remember that. Yes.
Did you?
And this is the guy that takes him over.
The sports science they did on Barry Sanders about how, like, when he would cut, how much pounds per square inch were like on his ankle.
Ridiculous number.
It was like some record, like something like 1,000. It was something stupid, but that's the one I always remember because we in Nebraska didn't really get a lot of football unless you were from Nebraska and we got to watch you. But that was the first time it because I was still young at the time when that show was when I was kind of learning about sports, where it was like they were comparing it to certain things, and I'm like, this is a dude on 2 feet running a football. Like, how is that possible? Like, to be able to go full speed at like 18, 19, 20 miles an hour and stop on a dime and cut, like every one of us would blow out. And he just did it on the regular and walked away from a game that he could have played for 5-6 more years.
Longer than that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Emmitt Smith played just to break the record. He still was. I mean, he did what he did, but yeah, it's incredible. And I mean, isn't it the highest praise for a player like Saquon and his lineman to have this coming from a Barry Sanders?
Absolutely.
I also think Barry Sanders knows that the closest thing to him as a player is Saquon Barkley. I think he's watched enough Saquon Barkley, film that you're like, oh, okay, I did that. I did crazy things like that. I mean, and if you see Saquon Barkley in person, which I have before he was drafted by the Giants, he's not a tall man. He's actually small. He's not as small, but his legs are so friggin' big they can wrap around a tree. It's really ridiculous how big his legs are. They're really scary looking.
Wasn't there a video of him squatting 650 as a freshman or something?
More than that.
But as a freshman.
Yes. He squatted.
So when I thought he's so famous because his legs are so enormous, but Barry's like they were big, but he wasn't like that. I would imagine though, and if you work out a lot, like guys in the squat rack, there are some guys that put a lot of weight on that squat rack.
Barry Sanders, his legs, Fish, were big. He had big legs.
No, I know, but he was so flexible that I've never seen that. I can imagine when you see him like ever in a squat rack, his ass is fucking touching the ground. That guy was so. Like, it was unbelievable watching the things he could do. The human body, I didn't think can do things like that. Like, you see Cirque du Soleil sometimes and you're like, wow. But I get that same feeling watching Barry Sanders highlights, and I get it watching Saquon too. I mean, I showed it. Everyone knows it's the greatest running back highlight, the reverse hurdle. Like it's what a feat. Like, to just have a guy who's special like that. Maybe it doesn't translate to wins. It did this year for the Eagles. But it didn't for the Giants, but it's still special to watch, and I miss it as a Giants fan.
When Barry Sanders did it, he didn't have all those facilities. He didn't have a weight rooms right next to him. They had weight rooms, but they don't have the stuff that they have now. I mean, Saquon has all that. Barry Sanders was doing that 20 years before Saquon Barkley was even doing it. He was jumping, doing twists, turns, flips, whatever the hell he was doing on a football field. And he was doing it just with athletic ability. Saquon has all that stuff behind him now. Now, I'm not taking that away from Saquon and his talents. I'm just saying he's not Barry Sanders. I don't think there's ever going to be a player, just like there's never going to be a Michael Jordan. So everybody trying to compare Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, or LeBron James to that man. There is no comparison. And people got to stop comparing these guys to that guy because there is none. So stop.
It's different. They're running with different pads. It's the same thing. You know, you think about golf. Tiger Woods had so many different technology on his side compared to a Sam Snead, a Ben Hogan, a Jack Nicklaus, and Arnie Palmer. Imagine if they had what Tiger had. And I'm not taking anything away from Tiger.
Oh, you're not taking it away from him. But you're right.
It's just, and so that's why you like everybody's like, could Babe Ruth play right now? They were only throwing 82. Well, he played in what he had to play with, and he was one of the best.
I think you could.
And it's also the schematic concepts too are a lot more advanced now than even when Barry.
You
Sanders
also
was
have,
there.
first of all, the stadiums were a lot bigger then, and
Ebbets
they weren't
Field, all the,
they weren't juice balls like they are now. I mean, we all know
You
the
ever
balls
see
are
a
juice.
glove from back then? What the gloves used to look like when they played back then?
Q-tips.
It was like it's
not a
almost
glove,
the
just
same
like a
game, but
hand.
like a hand. If you ever get a chance, like you ever go to Cooperstown, which is like a really fun trip if you get to do it. There's really nothing anywhere near Cooperstown, but if you go to Cooperstown, you get to see these really old gloves and the old baseball cards from like ancient, like the Honus Wagner one. They have one of those there. It's like was like $3 million or $4 million card. It's like the size of like a stamp. It's unbelievable, the stuff that you see from back then. It's not even like the same game. It almost with the stats. Like you can't really compare it.
We got to go there twice with Carter. It was nuts. They played in the tournament there, and it's great. Shout out to Carter. He was just hanging out with my dad because I had to do this. But yeah, it's so different. And like, think about the equipment back then too, and like, as far as like him, working out and whatever. It's like Herschel Walker said he never lifted a weight and all he did was push-ups and sit-ups.
It's true. He did. He did say
And
that.
he still shredded wheat. So
Sure.
obviously some of that's genetics though.
Yeah. He still looks good, man. Herschel Walker looks fantastic. I mean, that guy could still play football if he really wants to. It's really sick.
Didn't he do like MMA and then like was
Yes.
trying to do like be a governor or mayor or something?
At the age of 50,
He ran for Senate and he almost won.
He fought at 55 and won that fight, by the way. So I actually watched the fight on the pay-per-view. It's actually pretty funny. Herschel Walker is a freak of nature. That guy's a freak. Speaking of freaks, we got our deuce of the day today.
Deuce of the day.
You not a lock. I don't have a lock, but
My deuce of the day goes to the Cleveland Browns once again, as Baker Mayfield heads to the playoffs again, and the Browns do not. Baker Mayfield has made all the Brown fans wonder why we took shots at him and took shots at his wife when he was on his way out, when he really was the quarterback of the future of that organization. He has changed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their approach on obviously going after quarterbacks after Tom Brady retired. I think it's been incredible what Baker Mayfield has done, and it's great to watch him take dumps all over the Cleveland Browns as their name and presented as the Cleveland Browns. And what is the color of dog crap? Ladies and gentlemen, it's brown. So, ladies and gentlemen, my deuce of the day goes to the Cleveland Browns once again because Baker Mayfield is laughing right to the playoffs. So Baker Mayfield is our deuce of the day. And it's a special day because I love to see Baker succeed and watch the Brown fans cry to their mommies as they got it wrong again. Once again, they finally drafted the right quarterback, and he's over there playing for the Buccaneers and winning games for the Buccaneers. What an idiot organization. They're just like the Jets. Oh, my God. Anyways, the college football playoff semifinals begin tomorrow with the number 7 Notre Dame playing the number 6 Penn State. Notre Dame is favored by 1.5 points. Notre Dame beat Georgia despite having just 90 passing yards and the lowest total for a winning team in college football playoff history. Penn State also held the Heisman finalist Ashton Genty to just 3.5 yards per carry and forced him to fumble twice. The number 8 Ohio State will face the number 5 Texas Longhorns on Friday, and Ohio State is favored by 5.5 points. Quinn Ewers had 322 passing yards for 3 touchdowns versus Arizona State, the most of any quarterback in the last round. Ohio State's freshman wide receiver Jeremiah Smith had 187 yards versus Oregon, the 5th most by a receiver in college football history. Well, these are the final 4 teams in our first college tournament playoff. It has been fantastic to watch, and wouldn't it be really, really nice, Speedy, to see our guy, Lincoln Riley, head to a championship game for the first time in a tournament game? It's a sensational story. It really is. And I don't know if anybody knows anything about Lincoln Riley. I love when I watch this kid succeed, because for a kid that was really, he was a 3rd-string quarterback in Duke. And the only reason why he got a shot is because both quarterbacks went down in the same season. He might never have gotten a chance in Duke, and probably never gets to Notre Dame and gets a chance to win a national championship. It's an amazing story. And the reason why is we've been following this kid since 10th grade.
Yep.
We've been interviewing him. And what he has done has been absolutely sensational. Yeah, he's not putting up ridiculous numbers, and they got one of the best running games in all of the country. Their defense has been sensational. It's been fun to watch. And Penn State, there have been a great running team for years. As we bring up Saquon Barkley, and their defense is sensational as well. To me, that's the game I'm going to watch, because honest to God, as much as I want to see Ohio State and Texas, I know what's going to happen. I'm telling you what's going to happen. Ohio State's going to win this game, because everybody thought Oregon was going to run all over them, including yours truly. Oregon was the best team in the country. They have been the best team in the country. And what Ohio State did to Oregon was embarrassing. They embarrassed Oregon, okay? And that tells me one thing about Ohio State. As much as everybody said Day can't coach, he's won a national championship. He knows how to win big games, and he likes to stick it to every single fan that opens his mouth or their mouths about him. So I already think that's a shoo-in for Ohio State. It'll be a close game, but I think Ohio State wins that game. And it's the Notre Dame game that is going to be the fun game to watch on Thursday night.
Yeah, you look at the most complete teams, like you look at Notre Dame and Ohio State, when it comes to their peak talent form, it's going to be. Now, it's going to be interesting with Texas's defense, the way if they could play like they normally did throughout the season. They struggled against Arizona State, and that's something that Ohio State has to be, that Texas has to adjust to if they want to be able to beat Ohio State, win in the trenches the way they did, because their offensive line took a lot of penalties in that game, and their defensive line had trouble stopping the run, which you can't do against this Ohio State running back tandem. Judkins is very underrated, was with Ole Miss as well, and Travion Henderson's been good for a while too. So Texas is going to have to.
How are they going to stop Smith?
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like Jeremiah Smith is already a elaborate route runner, deep threat as it is.
Is he going to the draft this year?
No, he's a freshman.
He's a freshman.
He would probably be the best receiver. Yeah, he'd probably be the best receiver in the draft.
He'd be the number 1 pick.
Oh yeah, easily. I think he's already.
It's a name to remember.
He's already like that level of good, probably haven't seen from a freshman receiver, I think, since Julio Jones was at Alabama at the time. Like that kind of, like he's already putting together those kinds of numbers. So Texas is going to be able to have that game plan for that kind of thing. They've done it well in the past against these other good teams with Sarkisian. Now, you mentioned the coaching aspect too. Like Ryan Day, I have some doubts of him as an in-game coach too, but every coach left has some in-game doubts too. James Franklin of Penn State definitely has in-game doubts. Steve Sarkisian too, we have to see if he can do it at that next level too. And then Marcus Freeman, he's probably the one I trust the most, but I think when you look at like the incompleteness of the team, like you said, with Riley Leonard, take his game to another level, and even what they could do on in the running game as well, in the offensive line, which is always Notre Dame staple. I'm with you. Notre Dame wins that game as well.
Yeah, it's funny too, just seating wise, they're literally the underdog, which I don't think they're both. I'm gonna go against the grain here, and I'm gonna go Penn State. Just based upon because I can't stand Notre Dame. We live where we're at, and I think it's BS that they don't ever have to get in a conference, and it's garbage, and they take advantage of it so they can put it where the sun don't shine. So this is more of a I guess personal issue than it is probably what I should go with. And That's why I'm not going to bet this game, because you don't bet with your heart, you bet with your brain.
I usually bet with my balls, Speedy. You know that?
In that too, know which one is better for me either, to be honest.
I'm going to go with the left nut. What do you think, Speedy?
I don't know. I don't know if any of our betting experts are going to have on in a few minutes are going to advocate for betting with balls, but
not me.
You have to do it in different sports with balls, so I suppose.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't take that as payment, would they?
They might.
I don't know. We'll find out when we get them in, but yeah, I don't think they would
Depends
be
on where you're at.
for that advocacy.
Yeah, no. Then for me though, I think Ohio State. I think just them and what they're doing and how they just continue to win, and how people kind of just put them behind the 8 ball every once in a while, and they just continue to go out and do what they do. And like I said, I'm not going both dogs. I'm going to go 1 for 1. So I'm going to go Penn State, Ohio State.
All right.
Big Ten championship right there. But I got to give a shout out to Arizona State and Scatterboo, what he did to Texas, because I picked them as the upset alert, and they should have won, but they got hosed by a call. So I got to give a shout out there. As far as what I see, Notre Dame's defense was nasty against Georgia. I know Georgia didn't have their starting quarterback, but no matter who was back there, they didn't have a second to even think. So I don't think it mattered who was back there. They look good. Xavier Watts is going to be coming up in the box. Penn State's not going to be able to throw the ball. They're going to key in on that tight end. And
hey, where's he from?
He's from Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay,
Xavier
just check.
Watts.
I just want to check.
Thanks, Java.
But yeah, I think Notre Dame's going to dominate that game on the line of scrimmage defensively. Now it could come down to a field goal, just because I don't think any team's going to be able to move the ball. With Riley Leonard, he kind of obviously has his weaknesses. He runs the ball. So I think Notre Dame will win, but it'll be closer, and I'm taking the unders on that just for betting. And then I think
was it 44.5?
Yeah, I think Ohio State's going to roll. I think they're on a mission. I think the Michigan game really pissed them off. They got an extra week where they didn't even have to play in the Big Ten championship, and they've just used that motivation to get through this tournament with ease right now. They're resting guys in the third, fourth quarter because they were already up so much on Oregon. So Ohio State rolls.
So I'm historically terrible at making picks, but I do have some vested interests in all of these teams. First off, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, my football coach when I played in high school, every time we won a game, at the end of the game, he would, because he's Irish and from Worcester, Mass, with the strongest Boston accent you can imagine, would do the entire, you go da 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 da, and we'd all jump around every single time. So that's ingrained in my memory, and I do love the movie, historically inaccurate movie Rudy, a lot.
I like
Penn
that
State.
movie.
My in-laws went to Penn State, so they're all rooting for Penn State. I don't have anything against Penn State. I really like it there. I got to actually see the first ever spring practice of Saquon Barkley, because I got invited to go to a clinic there by James Franklin back in the day, and I got to see, I was like, who the hell are these running backs? And the second one was Miles Sanders. So it was quite impressive. I think they're both great teams. What I see is I'm not a huge fan of Villar compared to what the defense is going to bring against him. I think it's going to be tough for them to score points. I see Notre Dame winning this one and giving me false hope for next week against whoever they play, because I don't think they're going to win that game, because I used to bet on Notre Dame in championship games when they had Manti Te'o, and I lost money in Vegas that trip, I told on the show a couple of weeks ago. Ohio State, you said it, Speedy. Julio Jones comp for Jeremiah Smith, man. That and he's their newest receiver. They just produce those skill positions over there at such a level. I think the talent at Ohio State is going to win out. It's amazing they lost to Michigan after Harbaugh left, and they're going to win the national championship. I don't think Texas is ready. I think next year for Texas with the great Arch Manning, who I can't wait to watch as much as possible of, because I expect the Giants to be just as terrible next year and probably screw up this entire situation with the draft and not get anyone that they can even play. They'll take like Carson Beck with no arm. That's what's probably going to happen. Just watch. You got no arm. They'll let him wait, and we'll go, trade for Kirk Cousins on 1 foot, and that's how it's going to go.
I don't know. Remember, Fish, it has to be like this. Kirk Cousins is the bridge quarterback just to trade back to the Vikings for Daniel Jones.
That's a nightmare that I don't want to relive.
All right, so we're not going to do pound for pound right away. We're going to do Let's Parlay. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll come back with the boys, and then we'll do pound for pound. So, Tommy, here we go. Our Sports Minute.
This is the Jabba and the Mouth Sports Minute.
All right. Here we go indeed. Kicking it off with some more NFL. The Bills linebacker Von Miller is actually excited to go up against his former team, the Broncos, as the former Bronco said that it's all love for Denver and even calls this postseason matchup a full circle moment. And over in college football, Deion Sanders said that he will only be coaching for the NFL if both Shedeur and Shiloh are on his team. While many think that Deion is going to be leaving Colorado, Deion actually clarified that he will be coaching there unless it's for Shiloh and Shedeur. Now for the NBA, the Suns guard Bradley Beal is actually rumored to waive his no-trade clause to join the Lakers after being benched recently. The Lakers could send Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves with additional draft picks in exchange for the Suns guard Bradley Beal. And now keeping it with the NBA, as for Scoops' scores, the only game right now going on is the Bucks, who have a 27-22 lead over the Spurs. And I lied. Actually, the Nuggets have a 61-47 lead over the Clippers. While in the NHL, the Canucks currently are tied 1 apiece with the Capitals, with 1 on the board, and the Avalanche are trailing 3-1 against the Blackhawks. And that is all the time I have for you guys right now as I kick it back to the boys for their next segment. Let's parlay.
Any questions?
This is the Jabba and the Mouth Show.
Sexual crap. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to Jabba and the Mouth. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including Jabba in the Mouth, every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. We do this every single week. We got the boys here. We got Reno, Johnny, and Worldwide West. As we call this, Let's Parlay.
It's time for Let's Parlay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's pretty simple. We got Reno, we've got Wes, and it's very simple. They get their 3 top picks. They're going to go one at a time, and then their final pick will be their parlay. There's a lot to get into. We have college football, we have the semifinals, and we have some NFL football this week. All right, boys. Johnny, you go first.
Yeah, look, I'm going to do it. I'm out the gate. This is a game I hate betting with my heart, so I really take my heart out of it. This is a game where I'm going to fade Ohio State. And the reason why, because everybody and their mom and their dogs and ESPN and every channel I see is slobbering all over Ohio State. And I get it. They are the most talented team, top to bottom, roster wise, but they have one big Achilles heel. That's Ryan Day, who is terrible, and he doesn't show up in big games. In 2018, his first year, you lose to Clemson in the playoffs, lose to Alabama in the playoffs, lose to Michigan, which keeps you out of the 2021 playoffs. He is a terrible guy in big games. He's not a leader of men. I saw Michigan absolutely curb stomp him and plant flags while his team is getting maced, and he's just standing there like a clueless guy walking around the field. He doesn't belong. I think he's a coach that gets the benefit of the players. I think Ohio State, top to bottom, they're the most talented team. No, bar none. I really do. I think that young receiver, he still has 2 more years, which is insane to me. He has to play 2 more years in college or he sits out or whatever, but he's ready for the NFL right now. I think this is a game that kind of pushes me back to 05. In 05, I was still in high school. However, Texas was also that team that nobody thought would win. Remember, the conversation was, is USC the best team ever at that time? The best team ever at that time. And Texas players asked one question, well, if they're considered the best, what do we do if we beat them? It's like that. Texas really hasn't looked great. I can admit they struggled against Georgia twice. They haven't been a dominant team that people thought they were. Quinn Ewers has struggled at times. There's been calls for Arch Manning. There's been some questionable coaching plays. That 4th and 13 against Arizona State, like, let's call it what it is. They're fortunate to be here. This is that game where I'm just going to basically fade everybody and take the 6. If I can get 6.5 or 7, I'll probably get back in on that as well. I don't think it's going to go any higher than what it's at. I got 6. It's one of those situations where if they lose by 40, I'm not surprised. But I'm gonna take them to cover the game. I think they keep it close, and they end up losing. I do think they'll lose the game. I just think Ohio State's too talented. But I'm gonna fade the public. I'm gonna fade the media. I'm gonna fade every reporter and analyst telling me how and why Ohio State is the best team in the country. I just don't buy it. It's too much love for them. I'm fading them. I know I owe Wes a jersey there. It's nothing against Ohio State. I think it's really Ryan Day that just rubs me the wrong freaking way, and I think he gets more credit than he deserves. I'm done. Fade Ohio State. Plus.
All right,
Your
Wes.
guys' New Year's trash talk was quite entertaining. I must admit.
All right, Wes, give us your number 1.
So I was gonna start on Thursday, but now I'm gonna jump to the Ohio State Texas game, but I'm not gonna go to where you guys think I'm gonna go because I'm wearing an Ohio State Hooker jersey. I agree.
Malik Hooker, he's talking about.
I agree with some of what Johnny was saying. There is a lot of love for Ohio State right now, but I'm looking at the way this game is going to play out. And what's not being talked about is, so Ohio State has to cover the spread or they probably won't win the game. Like if it's within 6, I think it's going to favor Texas. But I think that the path for Ohio State winning this game is how much they are going to show hate for Quinn Ewers. And then Sark pushes the button to bring Arch into the game. But Texas has a really good secondary, and they have a really good pass rush. And that's Ohio State's strength on offense. When Ohio State tried to ram the ball down the throat of the team up north, it didn't work out very well. That's not their style. So if Chip has got something dialed up to where he's using short passes as a part of the run game, then I think that'll change things up a little bit. But Ohio State is not going to throw the ball all over the yard, and Jeremiah Smith is going to be taken out of this game. Texas has 2 really good corners. If Ohio State's deep passing game or cross routes wins this game, it's going to be Tate or Ibuka that does it, or even some tight end play. But I think that this is going to be a little bit different style of a game. My play here is the under. I'm taking under 53.5, and I'm doing it for a variety of reasons. I think that if Ohio State blows them out, it's going to be, like a 35 to 17 situation. Well, that's under 53.5. If Ohio State doesn't blow them out and it is within that 6 and Ohio State does lose, it's going to be like a 28-21 kind of game. I think that the defense in this game of Texas is being understated. So I'm taking the under 53.5. I will be at the game. I tried very hard not to be an Ohio State homer and get defensive there, but I like the under. I like the under in this game. I'm not going to pick a winner here. I would be doing it as a fan. But I think that Ohio State's strength is really matched by Texas's defensive strength. The path for Ohio State is to make Ewers give up the ball a few times, and then there's a quarterback controversy. That is the only path I see to an Ohio State blowout.
Yeah, and
Very interesting.
Real quick, just off of that, I do think that they have packages for Arch Manning now, and they did that for a variety of reasons. They really did that because instead of hearing the boos like "Give me Arch," they have specific packages for him to get him in the game. And so it kind of quiets the crowd because they have packages for Arch, so you're going to be able to see him. And it's not like a quarterback controversy. They're really keeping it under the belt. We're just going to give him packages for that. But again, in my fate of Ohio State really is the team top to bottom is great. Outside of Ryan Day, and I'm not a big Will Howard fan. I really think Will Howard, if you lose the game, it's because of Will Howard. I think he's going to make a couple mistakes. either just clock management or bad reads. I think he's the reason you lose the game. But everybody else is as scary as hell on Ohio State. That's all I say.
And this game is for the Natty. Let's be clear. The winner of this game is winning the Natty. So you may as well
I disagree.
place that bet now.
I disagree.
See, I disagree too.
I
because
disagree.
I think if Texas beats Ohio State, I think Texas could struggle against both Penn State and Notre Dame because of the style of defense they play is kind of similar to what Georgia does, and they struggled mightily in those games. So I do think Texas, if Ohio State,
I also think Notre Dame could beat both Ohio State with their defense. I think they could beat Ohio. Now they don't score a lot, but defense versus defense, you keep it close, and they can run the ball. And if you can run the ball, you can control the clock.
Which Texas defense shows up.
Yeah, but I think with Ohio State, the reason why if Ohio State wins, they're winning the game. And the reason why is because Notre Dame, you have to score some. Shutting down Ohio State is still them scoring 28. That's, to me, that you're shutting them down, right? And so even if you hold them to 28, can Notre Dame score 31? I don't know. I think
we can talk about this next week. We gotta get moving. If it happens,
all right.
Next play. I'm actually going to take Notre Dame. I think it's kind of a similar situation as to why I'm fading Ohio State. I think Notre Dame defensively, again, I don't really care who was at quarterback for Georgia, even if it was Carson Beck. I'm not really high on Carson Beck. I think he would have had trouble anyway. I think that running game would have had trouble. That Notre Dame defense is good. And I think that Penn State's going to have to run the football. I think they're going to struggle doing so. And I think that you kind of key in on the tight end. Outside that tight end, I don't really see a whole lot of deep threats for them in the passing game. I think Drew Rowler is similar to Riley Leonard in that he will use his legs. I think Notre Dame is the better all-around team. And in big moments, Marcus Freeman, I think, is doing a great job because Brian Kelly left. Why did Brian Kelly leave? Because you can't win big games against the SEC at Notre Dame. That was pretty much why he left. And Marcus Freeman, in year 3, beat Georgia and is in the semifinals he's proven that he can do it. I think big-time moments, I think Marcus Freeman is probably a better coach than what Franklin has proven to be. We've seen Franklin time and time again in big moments get out-coached, outworked, and his team outplayed. So I'm going to take Notre Dame on the money line. I'm going to lay a little bit at 130 on the money line. I think it might be a little higher now, but when I put it in, it was 130. So I'm taking Notre Dame to win that game, and I do think they can they could probably run away with this late, but it's a close game. Give me the money line.
Wes?
I'm going to go to the NFL first, and I'm taking Denver money line. I said that. I'm taking Denver and the points, and I'm going to also take some money line, and I'm going to give my reasoning. It's not going to be anything about hype, but when you go back to the games that Buffalo lost, it is because Josh Allen had to turn into Superman, and Cook was held to a very low number rushing the ball. When you go back to the Baltimore game, you go back to, hang on, I just had it in front of me. You go back to the Rams game, and Cook was held to, I think, 80 yards. You go back to the Baltimore game, he was in the 40 range. And now you're going to go against Denver. And so Buffalo not having a run game forces Josh Allen to be Superman, which is where he fumbles the ball or he throws that ill-advised pass. His receiving core is already not what it was last year. They've gotten by in the regular season. I realize it's at home. I think coaching is a complete mismatch. Denver is a way better head coach than Buffalo is. You're talking about a coach that knows how to win and get to conference championships games and the Super Bowl. I think that Peyton is going to have Knicks in a better position than Buffalo. But when you talk about Denver and their defense, you're talking about a defense that only allows an average of 96 yards a game rushing the ball. And if Buffalo cannot rush the ball, they become one-dimensional. They become Josh-centric. And so I just see this happening. The hype is real around Josh Allen as the MVP. There's been so much on the radio about Lamar Jackson, Super Bowl or bust. None of that conversation is about Josh Allen. And there is an argument to be made that this Buffalo team, as good as they've performed, they lay an egg. They're due to lay an egg. But I just really like the Denver defense and the way that they're going to take away the run game. And Josh is going to be one-dimensional. The 9.5 points is a gift. I mean, but this is going to be a multi-unit on the 9.5 and a full unit on that money line.
All right, Johnny, give us your third.
I like that play a lot because the weather's supposed to be snowing, and you don't have an advantage if you're Buffalo. If you're playing Detroit, okay, big advantage. If you're playing a team that also plays in the cold and the snow, your advantage is kind of moot. I'm actually going to go to the NFL as well, and I'm going to take, and I'm kind of surprised at this line, which is having me question it just a little bit. Give me the Packers at plus 4.5. I think we have quarterback questions in both of these teams right now. But as of 24 hours ago, Jalen Hurts was still concussion protocol. And Kenny Pickett is also questionable. So you're going to go to Tanner McKee? I don't know if I could lay any points to Tanner McKee. Even if Hurts does play, if he gets one big hit, he might be out again. I'm also not sold on this offense. I look at the Green Bay Packers, and if they have to go to Malik Willis, which they might have to because their quarterback is also banged up with an elbow, Malik Willis has actually good experience this year of stepping in and winning football games. Not just running. His first start was literally on the ground, but they let him pass the ball in his next couple starts. And I think Malik Willis can actually do just enough for this Packers team to hang around the 4.5. They could win the game. And it's another situation where you're taking a Green Bay Packer team going to Philadelphia, and it's going to be cold, and there might be some flurries or whatever it is, but it's a cold team going to a cold team. There's no advantage there in terms of weather. I think Green Bay Packers can run the ball efficiently. I know Saquon Barkley is a real problem, but you have to couple Saquon Barkley with a passing game, and I think they're going to lose on that status real quick if they don't have Hurts or Pickett. I'd give me Pickett back there, but with Tanner McKee at lane 4.5, no thank you. I'll take the Packers at plus 4.5.
All right, Wes, give us your number 3.
Go back to college, and I'm going to go to the Notre Dame and Penn State game, and this is another one where I'm expecting a low-scoring game. There's a lot of action on the over at 45.5, and when I look at these two teams, I'm looking at Riley Leonard has only gone over 200 yards passing twice. I mean, if you're gonna put up your share of over 45.5, which opened at 47, you're going to have to show up and pass for more than 200 yards. I think both of these teams are coming off of games where they have been able to take a little bit of a gamble because they know that they're going against teams that are not as much of a threat offensively. Some of what Notre Dame has done has been really impressive. I love the way that Freeman is coaching. I think it's really great to see. But I think that these teams are going to lean into their defense, and they're not going to take the risk. Whether it's going for it on 4th and 3 or a fake or, weird flea flick double reverse nonsense, where somebody weird throws the ball. Neither one of these teams have tremendous passing attacks, and both of them have tremendous defenses. I can't pick a winner on this game. I really can't. I mean, Penn State is battle tested against Ohio State and Oregon. Notre Dame is playing, you could argue they're playing ball just as good as Ohio State is right now, but neither one of these teams against the opposing defense is going to be able to have the kind of passing attack that it's going to take to put up their share of 45.5. And again, I think both of these coaches are smart. I think that there is pressure about what whoever wins this game being that head coach to be the first in the national championship. Some of that pressure, I think, will lead to not to lose play calling on both sides. And I think it's going to lead us to a lower scoring game. I'm going under 45.5, and I'm just going to enjoy the game.
All right. Johnny, give us your final pick.
This game is a little bit weird in terms of situation and circumstance. The LA Rams actually might be moving their game to Arizona, which I think to them, that's going to be a big blow in terms of home field, right? That's what you kind of play for, that home field advantage. You're not going to have it. This line is kind of tricky. I think that they got, the Vikings getting blown out to the Detroit Lions on Sunday Night Football in the finale to lose the division, and that's what the public is seeing. So the public is going to kind of jump in on, look at this Rams team. They got a capable running back. They got 2 receivers, really good receivers, good offense, good defense. I think you're forgetting about what the Vikings just did. They went 14-3. That's an incredible season at any other level. They're hosting the playoff game. They're the winners of their division. They just ran into the Detroit Lions. I think people are kind of underestimating this. Money's coming in on the Los Angeles Rams. That line was 2.5. It's down to 1. I think I'm going to jump in at that one, take the Minnesota Vikings. They win the game. If it moves to Arizona, a lot of these guys, the fires are happening in high end areas where these guys live. So they might have more on their mind than a football game. I know it's playoffs, but their families live in they have more on their mind. This might be a little bit hurtful, especially when you got to go to Arizona now. You're not even in with your family. It's going to be a little bit different situation. I think the Vikings are just undervalued in this spot. I thought they were going to be opening up about 4, and when they open up at 2.5, I the game goes one way or the other. I may be completely wrong, or Vikings run away.
All right, Wes, give us your final pick of the night.
I agree with Johnny on that one, so I won't give that same pick because there's not a lot of what he said that I am going to disagree with. Team gets embarrassed and they come back in a playoff game against a team that's got real problems at home. But I'm going to go to a different game, and I'm going to go to the Pittsburgh-Baltimore. And I don't do this kind of thing in an NFL game, but I'm laying the 8.5 points. I took it right when I saw it. It's to 9.5. 51% of the tickets that I can see right now are coming in, taking the 9.5, and it was even higher than that at 8.5. If this game is within that 8.5 points, Baltimore loses outright. Baltimore at home can be a real bully. I think that this is a real team. This is playoff time. It's cold. Henry's going to run that ball, that 20 touches mark. Lamar is playing really good ball. They just own Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I don't think, is going to be able to score the points when Baltimore jumps ahead. It's going to force them into uncomfortable offense. I trust Russ in the playoffs, but I don't trust Tomlin to coach an offensive player like Russ and have the game plan going into this that will offensively beat Baltimore. Baltimore is a real bully at home. This is playoffs. I think they're going to roll, and Baltimore is going to end up hosting next week.
Very interesting. Well, boys, we really appreciate the time. We will argue whoever comes out of these semifinal games. I think it's Notre Dame and Ohio State, and I do believe Notre Dame has a chance against Ohio State, but we'll argue that next week. Boys,
I'll send you fellas pictures from Jerry World.
You definitely
I'll be there on Friday.
Well,
it's
enjoy
gonna be
yourself.
cold.
I might be flying to Kansas City in a week, so
Yeah.
We talked about that.
According to Wes, it was to see the Chiefs and Broncos, apparently.
We'll see.
Yeah, could be the Chiefs and the Broncos.
We'll see.
And then that sets up the 6th annual Arrowhead Invitational. We took 1 year off.
There you go. Well, maybe I should just wait until the AFC title game.
That's probably a better one.
You might be right. Well, we'll see. We'll talk about it in the next week or so.
It's 12 degrees here.
Dude, it's 12 degrees here. What do you think? I don't know. I got a new tattoo. It's burning as hell when I'm outside. Anyways, boys, I love you guys. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Yep.
We'll see you.
OH, Ohio State. Yeah. We know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know people have been waiting for this. As we have a new set. Well, we have this segment. It's been about almost 2 weeks. As well, we call this segment Pound for Pound.
This is Pound for Pound.
I'm coming for you. I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and Michigan, most ruthless champion there's ever been. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children.
All right, my friend. Give us the rules, Fish, as we have new rules at the game.
All right, everybody. So we're going to change this game up a little bit. So Errol and Jabba both have given me, before the show started, their top 5 pound for pound wide receivers of all time. Now, in this game, in the first round, they're going to have some that overlap, especially the top one overall. Most people are going to know what we're talking about, but this is for how it's going to go going forward in all of these games. So, first round, what do you have in common? Second round, Speedy, we just got to cut that a little bit lower, if that's okay. Keep it on 25, please. But as we're doing this, we have in common. Second round, what you don't have in common, and in each round, you're going to argue for your case, and whoever makes the better arguments in each round will get the point for the round. The tie-breaking round 3, when we get to it, if we get to it, is the order of your list, in which case I will put both of your top 5 orders on the screen, and you guys will argue and criticize each other's top 5 order. Whoever makes the best criticisms will win the point. Since there's 3 rounds, somebody has to win. You guys ready to play?
Yeah, let's go.
So yeah, it's 3 rounds, but we have top 5. I'm confused.
You'll
there's
see, Jabba. It's going to go real well.
All right, so we'll let Jabba go first. Fish.
Yeah, so Jabba, for this one, I'm going to announce the guys that you have in common. And we're going to go with the first one that everyone had in common is Jerry Rice. So Jabba, start off and tell us why Jerry Rice is in your top 5 pound for pound wide receivers of all time.
It's not working. Stop making faces. Go.
I mean, it's
Speedy. We hear the song very loud, and it's very distracting.
There is no
I don't
song.
know if you can't
we don't
hear
have
it.
a song.
I don't hear it at all.
We don't have a song.
Speedy. You guys can't hear it in
We
the
hear it.
studio. We hear it on like max volume, and I can't hear myself think.
So shut the song off if it's
Turned off, Speedy. Just keep it on 22, or 20.
We don't
like I
have
said.
it. Don't play the song. We don't have it. We don't hear
Trust
it.
me.
Shut
All
the
right.
song off.
Well,
there it is.
It's
Remember the name of it? I'll
it's
find
fine.
it.
It's fine.
All
Guys,
right, go. Go ahead.
We'll worry about it later. It's what's really important is who wins pound for pound, top 5 wide receivers of all time. So after Jabba, you explain it, then Errol's going to have a chance to talk about why he thinks Jerry Rice belongs up there. And whoever makes the better case for him and the other guys you have in common will get the point for this round. It's not for each guy in your top 5.
All right,
list,
Jabba,
it's
go
each
for
round.
to give us the reason why
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice is your number 1.
Jerry Weiss. You can't say that.
Let's go. Let's go, man.
I think for me, it's like going through what he did and accomplished. Obviously, he had company and John Taylor and all those guys, but I think it's the 87 year that stands out where he had 20 plus touchdowns in 12 games and never been done again. And, just did it for a long time. Weird seeing him in a Raiders jersey, which was really weird. But as a Niners fan growing up, I just think with the grace and he did it and knowing that he was getting attacked and, having a year that nobody else has ever done in way less games now, I think is just something special.
I think it's the consistency. I think it's the consistency, obviously. Everything that he's done, especially lower that down, Speedy. Keep it lower. Bring it down. There you go. 16 games. Jerry Rice played over 20 seasons. How many times has he had 16 game seasons in those years? I think it was almost 20. And he actually played 17 games in another year. He was very consistent. Yards per catch, yards per touchdown, everything that he did. Why are we putting up the music up higher? Bring the music down, Speedy. I told you that. The touchdowns.
And we don't hear the music.
That's fine. You're better off not hearing the music. Everybody else can hear it. So Jerry Rice, everything that he's done, the touchdowns, obviously, yes, he had 22 touchdowns, but look at this. And I'm going to say this because Jerry Rice was just so amazing. His second year, 15 touchdowns, 22 touchdowns, 17 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns, 15 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns, 15 touchdowns. And he played with two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Steve Young and then obviously Joe Montana. I mean, everything that Jerry Rice stood for and his talent was just impeccable. So I think what Jerry Rice was and what he stood for, I think he's the greatest athlete in NFL history.
Oh, you're saying he's a better athlete than Bo Jackson?
Well, I guess for the duration, Bo only played a few years, I guess is what he's saying.
Well, that wasn't his fault.
No, absolutely not. It's
you
ever see the old
gotta work the sound on the board because our producer doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Go ahead.
Well, we were just commenting. He said Bo Jackson is the best athlete that played in the NFL, but obviously only played for a few years.
Best football player of all time. Okay, not athlete. Best football player. I'm thrown off because this guy doesn't know how to work a damn board. Go ahead.
All right. So next guy you guys have in common, Randy Moss. This time we'll start with Errol.
Well, it's pretty simple. Randy Moss was the best long shot wide receiver we've ever seen in NFL history. He can go deep, and what he did with Tom Brady probably will never be compared. He had, in that year when he played with Tom Brady, his numbers were impeccable. 23 touchdowns, 1,400 yards. He was everything to that undefeated season that they had in 2007. He was an amazing player. And again, when we look at T.O. and we look at Randy Moss, you could go back and forth. Was he a first ballot Hall of Famer? You could question that over Terrell Owens. But Randy Moss came from a very bad place in Virginia, came to the NFL. A lot of people played for Marshall, played with, obviously a quarterback in Chad Pennington, and then came to the NFL and he didn't really have a number one quarterback. If you go look at the quarterbacks that he played with, Dante Culpepper, he didn't play with number one top-end quarterbacks until he went to Tom Brady and Bill Belichick for the 2 or 3 years that he was over there. He did it with really secondary quarterbacks, and that's what makes Randy Moss so special. The numbers definitely stand out, but it's the quarterbacks that he played with. Besides Tom Brady, tell me a top-end quarterback he played with. There really isn't any.
No, I agree. When you look at numbers, compared to Jay Rice and his first 6 years, he had over 8,000 yards and literally 77 touchdowns. That speaks for itself. And like you said, he was doing it by just being an absolute monster and a beast and a deep threat and running great routes. And obviously growing up the way he did, and what, may God look over him right now and get him through whatever he's getting through. And so I think it's just obviously too that the start of his career with not much what he had, and then also to continue that dominance. Yeah, you slowed down a little bit, but he was still a threat as he got later in his career.
Okay, and finally, for our last part of round one, the third guy you guys have in common on your top 5 list of pound-for-pound wide receivers of all time is Terrell Owens. Let's start off with Jabba this time.
I think he fell a little bit under, behind the 8 ball, being in that same era as Randy Moss, because Randy Moss was more of a deep threat. What I think T.O. he brought, and I tried to look at this as a whole, because what I love about this, it's not only it's pound for pound for everything that they do, right? And you may not have liked T.O., but you watched him to see him fail. You watched him to see him succeed. And he was very good at that, from doing sit-ups in his driveway to, literally, getting on the Dallas Star and just all the things that he did. But he also at the same time was able to do that because he backed it up. And, just to see his numbers and whatever throughout his career, I think they get a little bit shadowed because he was with Randy Moss and the numbers that he created. But I think he also did something else where it created a dynamic of a personality that I think goes a long way in the game as well.
Terrell Owens really started the prima donna era. He was the biggest prima donna in NFL history. He was the first player to go on a football field and sign a camera. He was also the first guy in football history to stand on the Dallas Cowboys star and give him the big middle finger, pulling his pants down. He was great on the football field. It didn't matter. Remember, he came from the 49ers. Remember, coming from Jerry Rice, he was backing up Jerry Rice, and he had to really change and really radically take over for the 49ers. And he did. When everybody's trying to compare to somebody and the 49ers and what they did with Jerry Rice, it was Terrell Owens that really changed that wide receiving style. Remember, he wasn't a first-round draft pick. He was like a 4th or 5th round draft pick. So nobody expected Terrell Owens to do what he did. Jerry Rice was a number 1. He was a first-round draft pick. So just think about that. When you look at a top wide receiver and you look at all those guys, even Chad Johnson wasn't a first-round draft pick either. He was an outspoken guy. But what Terrell Owens did as a football player, yes, he put up numbers. Yes, he was an outspoken player. Yes, he's at the end of his driveway doing push-ups and sit-ups and telling the, crying to the cameras that's his quarterback. But what he did more than ever and what changed the game is he opened up that door for prima donna wide receivers, and he opened up the money spin because he was the first high-paid wide receiver. He was the first one to get that big multi-million-dollar contract out of a wide receiver has ever gotten. So that's why I think Terrell Owens, and honestly, Terrell Owens, you can compare him. There's very few people you can compare him to.
All right. So as a teacher, I grade competition debates all the time. And I just basically award the winner on the most valid points that were made in this argument. So I'm going to go through each of the guys and tell you who won each one. The Jerry Rice one I thought was dead even. I thought you guys covered a lot of good material on that one. Jabba, you had some great stats. Errol, I think I had some good stats too. But Jerry Rice, everyone knows everything about Jerry Rice. That's the best guy of all time. I think we're going to talk about him a little bit more in round 3. So I can call that one a draw. Now, on the Randy Moss one, I'm going to give that one to Errol. Jabba, you kind of talk more about comparing him to Jerry Rice instead of why Moss was doing really what was so good. And I was looking for more of that type of information. So I'm giving that one to Errol. And the TO one, I'm going to give it to Errol because I really liked his JUCO stuff, the late round pick, and the free agency money argument for TO. So round 1 goes to Errol. Round 2, up next, we have, let's just change the graphic in the top right to round 2. Now it's the guys you don't have in common. So since we left off last time with Jabba going first, Errol will go first in this round. The guys you don't have in common. So Errol, state the case for your guy. And now Jabba, since he's not one of your guys, you give a rebuttal why he shouldn't be on the list. And that's how we're going to grade this one.
Okay.
All right,
You
Errol.
want me to give him my first guy?
I
don't know who's on his list.
I'll tell you. This is how it's going to work.
So why did we have to give him an order if this is the way we were going to do it?
You'll see. That's for round 3.
That's round 3. That's round 3 that we're going to argue and rebut our our order.
The orders. Argue your orders.
Yes.
All right. So, Errol, one of your guys that Jabba doesn't have on his list is Marvin Harrison Sr. Tell us about him.
Oh, it's pretty simple. Marvin Harrison played on a great offense. He played with a tight end that's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. Peyton Manning obviously really changed everything. But Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, he played with a tremendous amount of wide receiving talent. And Marvin Harrison was the best one out of them all. And you look at what Marvin Harrison did. If you look at the Super Bowl that they won, who was the best player on the field? It was Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison changed the game. And the 1-2 combo, when you think of the best 1-2 combo in NFL history, the first thing that pops in your mind, it's not Randy Moss and Tom Brady. It's Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning. Go look at the numbers. Numbers don't lie. Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning in a 7-year span has the best numbers in NFL history from quarterback to wide receiver. There's no question that they did. And the thing about Marvin Harrison, all the things that he's done off the field, Marvin Harrison killed somebody. Okay, the fact that he still was in the NFL as long as he was, it's a sensational story. And he didn't go to jail.
So did Ray Lewis.
Yes, that's true too. We're not talking about Ray Lewis. We're talking about this guy. I think Marvin Harrison really stood out from all the rest. I think Marvin Harrison is not only one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. Some people can, argue that him and Peyton Manning were the best tandem of all time.
I mean, for that short period of time, but longevity plays in that game. And if I had Peyton Manning throwing me the ball too, I would have that in the aspect too when you had Reggie Wayne on the other side too, where it's like you can't double down on both sides. And yes, did they have good numbers? Did they win? Yeah, but I mean, you look at when you have those other options with that guy that's basically running your offense and basically putting you in the situations. Yes, you have to execute, but it's pretty easy. And as we've seen, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever, it makes it a little bit easier when that guy's throwing you the football.
All right. So we're now going to move on to one of your guys, Jabba, and you're going to give us the case why he should be there. And Errol will say why he shouldn't. His name is Larry Fitzgerald. Go ahead, Jabba.
I think longevity. He's never really had. Obviously, he's never won a championship, but we're going to hold that above everybody's head. But if you look at what he's done in the postseason, he's averaged every year in the postseason over 100 yards and at least a touchdown. Every time he's got to the postseason, and he's never won a championship. So it's not like it's his fault. And to see that the fact that he's still doing it at the rate that he's doing it, and he's over 17,000 yards and has an opportunity to get to a remarkable number if he keeps playing, if he doesn't decide to switch to golf. But I just think it's longevity. He's never had a Peyton Manning. He's a great route runner. He has proven it over and over, and I think the fact that he's done it and shown it in the playoffs year after year that he's gone, with averaging over 100 yards and a touchdown, and still hasn't won a championship, it just shows that what you have alongside of you goes a long way. And Marvin Harrison had that. And I think that's why he's there. And he's still playing. Like that's crazy to me.
Larry Fitzgerald's not playing anymore. He's retired.
No, he was still playing. Now he's not.
Yeah. Well, I okay. Okay.
All right, Errol, tell us why he shouldn't be on the list.
Well, first of all, longevity. Well, Marvin Harrison played 13 years, but he also had 14,580 yards. Larry Fitzgerald played 17 years, and he had 17,492 yards.
That's 3 years.
That's 3 years. Now, if Marvin Harrison played another 3 or 4 years, guess that's 4 years. And if Marvin Harrison played another 4 years, he breaks that number by a long shot. And again, I'm not taking shots at Larry Fitzgerald. I love Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
I love
that's
everything
skeptical.
about him.
You don't know if he's going to break that, though.
Just like you said that, just because Peyton Manning was the quarterback, does that mean that Peyton Manning was going to get him the ball and put up those numbers? Peyton Manning had one of the worst rookie seasons in NFL history. Why do you think that changed everything? Well, Marvin Harrison changed everything for him. He was the guy. But Larry Fitzgerald, I'm not going to take away from his numbers. Larry Fitzgerald was a fantastic player, very consistent. Here's the problem with Larry Fitzgerald. Yes, he put up those numbers in the playoffs. Did he win in the playoffs? That's the question. He never won. He never won a Super Bowl. And isn't the playoffs all about winning? You could put up all those numbers. Let's go back at some of the wide receivers that have done it in the playoffs. Randy Moss is one of them. Did Randy Moss ever win a Super Bowl? Never. So, I mean, you go back and you could go and compare all the different wide receivers in the time. What do we say about quarterbacks? We say it all the time. If you don't win a championship, you're not going to be really considered one of the greatest of all time, no matter what your numbers are. It's the same thing when it comes to a wide receiver. As good as you are, you only are as good as your team. And yeah, Larry Fitzgerald didn't have Peyton Manning, but he also had Kurt Warner, and they still didn't win. And Kurt Warner won a Super Bowl. So my opinion here is
so does winning matter or no?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you said 2 weeks ago Aaron Judge is in the top, but he's never won anything other than an MVP.
Ohtani didn't win anything until this year either.
But he won.
Yeah, he won this year. Did he do
All
anything?
right. Let's not get back into the Ohtani Judge debate of 2024.
No, I was getting back into about winning.
I mean, we could do that too.
We got to extend the show an hour.
What the hell did you do to your finger?
No, I pulled a hangnail.
Oh my God!
Pain. This is what you do to me.
All right, so we're halfway through round two. The next guy
we're still doing live.
By
the way, we're still doing round three, no matter who wins this. Okay?
Yeah, we're doing it no matter what. We're doing it no matter what, because it's fun. The next guy is for Errol. Defend your choice of Steve Largent.
And when I was telling you this, Fish, there's a lot of reasons why I look at Steve Largent as one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. He played for the Seattle Seahawks. At the time that Steve Largent was a dominant wide receiver, that was during the 49ers time where they were the dominant force. Steve Largent only played, you know what his quarterback was? You know who his number one quarterback was? Jim Zorn. Jim frigging Zorn was his quarterback. And I remember him as a head coach. Boy, oh boy, he was horrible. Awful. Okay, awful as a head coach for the Washington Commanders. Okay. The fact is, go look at his numbers and the consistency that he had with Jim Zorn as his head coach, as his quarterback. 1,168 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1,237 yards, 9 touchdowns, 1,064 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1,224 yards, 9 touchdowns. We could go on and on and on. This guy was one of the most underrated wide receivers of all time. And he played at the time where defenses were more expected and more important than the offensive side of the ball. And you can grab the wide receiver. The corners could grab the wide receiver. And Steve Largent had nobody that could throw him the ball. That's why I think Steve Largent is a top 5 wide receiver. The prima donnas and Calvin Johnson and all those other guys, he had Matthew Stafford, okay, who actually won a Super Bowl. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't have much. I went on things that I saw, like personally. I never saw him. I can go off numbers and see what it is and look it up, but you can win this one fine because I obviously looked at his numbers, but I have nothing to say, and I'm not gonna falsify this show and act like I've watched him and seen it. So that for me, I have no argument because I never. Like, when I talk about best ever, Babe Ruth's not going to be in there. Is he going to be, like, an iconic figure in baseball? Yes. But I never watched him. So I
didn't want to pick the same guys you picked. And
I know, and that's why I tried to go off grid, too. But, I seen, when I was doing my research and everything, I'm seeing these guys, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to just say stats, but that has no validity to me because I didn't get to watch him. Like, I love John Taylor. He's not even on the list. But I loved watching him with the Niners. Irving Fryer was another one. You know, guys.
My argument with him is he had nobody throwing him the ball. Jim Zorn throwing him the ball. Okay,
and trust me, I looked it up, and it's just it's tough.
But I know
for
who
me.
Jim Zorn is. I watched him.
I mean, I've obviously heard of these names, but I didn't see them.
I watched bits and pieces of Jim Zorn.
Let's get to the last one since Jabba, you surrendered that one to Errol.
No. I want to hear I want to hear his argument with Calvin. God, I'm predicting he picked Calvin Johnson.
No, well, the last one is I'm saying for Largent, he gave you that one. So I'm just keeping score here.
Oh, okay.
And you still have a chance to catch up. For Calvin Johnson, Megatron is Jabba's last guy. So Jabba, tell us about Megatron and why he deserves to be on the list.
Well, I mean, it's you want to talk about nobody throwing to him, right? I mean, in 2008, they didn't win a game, and he went over 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns. So, I mean, that just it goes into the argument. And you know what I respect the most about the man, and it's because I've got to know it, is he didn't continue to play because he knew how hard it was on his body. Was just an absolute monstrosity. Like, he shakes your hand, and he's really shaking your elbow. His hands are gigantic. And an absolute great human being, understood what he needed to do. Yes, did he have Stafford at a time? But also, even when they weren't winning games, he still did over 1,300 yards. And they didn't win a game. And he was still – and all you had to do was stop him, but he was still getting his stuff. And you don't earn the name Megatron for being a scrub. And it literally is one of those things where – I always look at it, and for me, there's a personal aspect in all these things. Like, I'll be biased, and I'll be the first person to admit it, and I may be wrong, but at the end of the day, I don't care because for me, personal is more fun than talking about just this guy has the best stats. He did this. Well, yeah, that's cool. We can all talk about that, but when there's a personal bias towards it, it gives a great anomaly to what it is, and getting to see him and how he embraced not only the sport, the understanding, but his community and the great man he was, and still went out and performed every year. When you consider that from, 2011 to 13, he wasn't not only considered the best wide receiver, he was considered the best football player on the planet based upon his numbers. And when you can go and have a stretch like that, and you never hear a word about the guy. T.O.'s one where, like, you take the opposite side of the spectrum, right? But you got a dude like this, just like, it was so fun to watch him. And I never was a Lions fan, never really like got into it, but like watching that man play and seeing the things that he did with, when he first got there, they weren't very good. They weren't very good. And he only played 9 seasons. What if he would have done exactly what Marvin Harrison and he played more? We'd be having a different conversation, just like you said.
All right, Errol.
I love Calvin Johnson. I love him. He's the only wide receiver in a 10-year span in that decade to have 3 all-pro, appearances. I mean, the guy is a first team. He's a sensational player. It's the longevity. You mentioned longevity. 9 years. It's not long enough. As good as he was, and he never won. How many playoff games did he win? How many playoffs? Not many. He had Matthew Stafford, too. Matthew Stafford goes to another organization, another team. He goes to the Rams, and guess what? First year he goes there, he wins the Super Bowl. To me, I'm not taking that away from Calvin Johnson's talent. I love him. I think he was a nice guy. He didn't go out there and slam the ball and spit on his head and sign autograph. You're right, Jabba. He did it right. There's no question. It's just the longevity thing. If he played over 12 years and he won a Super Bowl, absolutely a top 5 player of all time. I can't even argue or even not discuss it. I just think the longevity really hurt him. And he played with an all-time great quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's going to be a Hall of Famer. Go look at his numbers. They're ridiculous. I mean, Steve Largent, he played with Jim Zorn.
You forget it's crazy too to see how long Stafford's already played. But so when you say longevity, and I'm going to get off topic for a second.
Yes.
Is Barry Sanders considered, because he only played 10 years?
Yes, he played 10 years. And as a running back, and you know this, if a running back plays if they play 10 years, they're a Hall of Famer, especially with his numbers. Running back and wide receiver are 2 different positions. And that's
I'm not disagreeing, but I'm just asking.
It's different.
All right.
Yeah, but I agree with you. But it's different when it comes to a wide receiver and a running back. Running backs don't last that long in the NFL. So.
All right. So I'm ready to score this round. And so we're going to go back to Marvin Harrison Sr. I'm going to say that one was pretty much a draw. I thought the argument Jabba said that he had one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time throwing to him and might have made him better, and the longevity was more of a compiler at times. I think that was a good argument, but of course, the Mannings, Marvin Harrison has these unbelievable numbers, and he won. Fitz, I'm giving that one to Jabba. I didn't like Errol's argument too much. I showed a clip, like they should have won that Super Bowl with Larry Fitzgerald. He scored a touchdown with 2 minutes left in the game. I showed it while you were talking. They just, there's this Antonio Holmes game, right, with a toe tap at the end of the game. It was, one of these great plays of all time. If not for that play, Larry Fitzgerald is the MVP of the Super Bowl. So I think we might be talking about him differently. Largent, Jabba, you conceded that one, so we're at 2-1 in this round. And the last one, I'm also going to give that to Errol. I thought Errol was very convincing with the longevity argument, with the Matt Stafford Hall of Fame throwing to him argument. And there was one other in there, too, that I thought was really good. I thought it was a pretty good case. Oh, and he never won. And in fact, not only did he never won, he lost a lot. So round 2 also goes to Errol. So Errol is going to win this one, but we are still going to do round 3 because we've never done it before. And let's get right into it. And just for the viewers, so you guys can see what we're doing here, we have round 3. And on round 3, I'm going to show you a different file that I have here.
Is there any sports on television
that has your lists in order? So now I want you guys, and we'll start with Jabba. I want you to criticize the order that Errol has the list in. And then Errol, you'll do the same to Jabba's list. And the best argument wins round 3. Jabba, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know how you put T.O. over Randy Moss. That's just me, and they played in the same, and Randy Moss was a deeper threat, and that's said by many people, and I can quote you on this, and it's amazing to me, like, and that's the one thing that they said about T.O., where He literally's like Moss in his prime was more dominant, and this is coming off of NFL.com. So it's I don't believe everything I read on the internet, but when you got to sort your size when you see it. Like I said, I don't disagree. Marvin Harrison was great. Didn't see Steve Largent, don't know about him. So it's really that's not relative to me. But you can't really go wrong with either of those. You take those 5 on your lineup any day of the week.
All right. And Errol.
Well, here's the thing. Terrell Owens, and this is why I'm taking Terrell Owens on the over Randy Moss. Terrell Owens played 15 years, yes. Randy Moss played 14 years, but guess what? Terrell Owens actually won. And when Randy Moss went to the Super Bowl, and the most known with the Patriots, what was his numbers? Did he put up big numbers? No. Terrell Owens, I remember when he was in the Eagles, he had a broken leg. Okay. He went out there with a broken leg and put up big numbers and almost knocked off the New England Patriots. I think Terrell Owens is more of a winner. He went out there and he played his butt off. He didn't care what anybody thought. Randy Moss cared what people thought. Okay. When he was out there, he complained. Remember when ESPN had that story about him? He went out there and he started to say, F this guy and F that guy. Terrell Owens knew what everybody was saying about him. He could give a crap. That's what I loved about Terrell Owens. He didn't give a crap. We all know Jerry Rice. And as far as Larry Fitzgerald, I love Larry Fitzgerald. His longevity is sensational. Everything about him. I'm sorry. The fact that you don't have Marvin Harrison Sr. on that list, I'm sorry. I think Marvin Harrison, I told you, Fish, I think he could be on my top 3. I'd put him over Randy Moss. This guy is as electrifying as any wide receiver we've ever seen. Yeah, he played with Peyton Manning. Yeah, he played with Reggie Wade. Yeah, he had a great running game with Edgerrin James. But Marvin Harrison was the guy. He was the number one guy, no matter who was on that team, no matter who the quarterback was. Jim Harbaugh was the quarterback at one point. And who was the number one guy? Marvin Harrison. So I would have Marvin Harrison over there, and Steve Largent. Just look who he played with. Go look at the Seattle Seahawks those years. He had nobody throwing the ball. He had barely a running game. I mean, and he played in a division with the San Francisco 49ers and Joe friggin' Montana and that unbelievable team, that dynasty team of the late 70s and early 80s. And he put up big numbers against those San Francisco defenses too. That's why I put Steve Largent. People forget that the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball was completely different in the 80s to now. So Steve Largent, absolutely in my top 5. Even though I like Calvin Johnson too, I just think the longevity hurts him.
Yeah, but the whole point, exactly what you said, though, is like we don't want to have the same list. Like it would be boring if we had the same list.
Of course,
so.
We're just arguing, and we see who gives the best argument. It really, you could have picked Jabba. You could have picked my list, and and I would probably agree with you. You know what I mean? I'm just arguing my point. I think I put Larry Fitzgerald. It's hard to decide who you want to put in your top 5. They're all fucking great. Excuse my language. They're all great. But the whole point of pound for pound is just to argue your points and see if your point makes it valid. Or maybe somebody will agree with it.
Lance Allworth on there. And
yeah, you should have. Maybe I would agree with you on that one too.
Hey, Java,
I almost downloaded his highlights.
Java, you know what Lance Allworth's nickname is? It's the same nickname that Errol gives to Robert Saleh.
Oh, God. Bambi.
Yep.
Yeah.
No way.
Yep.
That's why I was going to put it on there. But I'm like, I would just be doing it. I would
requested an interview for Robert Saleh.
It would be not. For me, it's like when I'm talking about it, I just don't want to go off numbers. I want to go off like all of it, which makes it fun to talk about.
Yeah,
because
and I wasn't looking at the numbers too. I'm looking at
No, I know it, like all the other stuff, but it makes it interesting to go back and forth because you're like, I don't even know. Let me look and see.
I honestly, if I look at your list and if somebody put that list out there, and it wasn't me, I'd be like, Jabba has a good point. I like Larry Fitzgerald. I like Calvin Johnson. But when Fish told me, he said, listen, we don't want to make it. And I told him, I said, okay, I'm gonna argue my points with this guy. I'm gonna argue my points with that guy, and see who gets the better argument to that. Because there's no right or wrong answer to this. Honestly, there is none. So they're all great. They're all special, in their different decades or different times. So you can argue your points no matter what. It's just about arguing your points and making valid points to make it more right than the other person. That's really what pound for pound is.
Yeah, and that's what debating is, and that's just how it was scored. And I
Master debaters.
Master debater.
Absolutely.
It's good for both.
It's good for all.
Fitz, on a side note, both Larry Fitzgerald and Steve Largent both played with a Kurt Warner. Steve Largent played with the running back Kurt
That's
Warner.
right.
And Larry
That's
Fitzgerald.
true. That's true. Also, I believe Jerry Rice broke it. I believe it was Steve Largent's touchdown record that Jerry Rice broke to pass it. So again, Largent, in my opinion, Largent has to be on that list. I really love how you guys approach this. Jabba, I just think Errol just can keep going with that argument. You're going to have to be able to keep going a little bit more in round 3 next time. And besides that, guys, thanks for playing. Pound for pound.
Eat it, Speedy. Eat it. Is it light, nice and delicious, Speedy?
That's Weird Al. He wrote that song.
Speedy, the harder the better, right? The harder is the better. And Speedy, you have to really understand what the sound is. I mean, it gets me frustrated when you can't understand how to work the sound here. People hear it on that side. Now it's over. It's blowing my eardrums. Come on, man. You can hear it on this side. Maybe not on the other side, but it's devastating when I'm listening to it and it's making my eardrums blow. So anyways, there's a lot. We still have a lot more to go, and we have 30 minutes left of the show. So let's get into it. Oh, Mike Francesca speaks out. How wonderful. Jabba's favorite, as Jabba and Mike have had their issues and non-issues.
No, Francesca's been good. It's been Michael K.
Okay. Mike Francesca said on his podcast that he has a plan to fix the Jets. Oh, I can't wait to hear this one. He says he would hire Rex Ryan back with an unusual authority, meaning he wouldn't be the head coach, but he would get a higher position than just being a defensive coordinator. He added that he wants Aaron Rodgers to return one more season and says that Jets' talent is still great. I agree with him. He wants the Jets to either hire a veteran head coach or a dynamic young offensive coach like Ben Johnson. Rex Ryan said on ESPN New York that he thinks he is the best candidate for the New York Jets. The Jets interview with Rex Ryan yesterday and also had requested interviews with Matt Nagy, Arthur Smith, I want to take a dump, and Buccaneers offensive coordinator Liam Cohen. What the hell is going on here with the New York Jets? What the hell is going on? I don't want any of these guys. None. Matt Nagy? Arthur Smith? What are they not? I'll take Arthur Smith or Matt Nagy as my offensive coordinator. I'm not taking them as my head coach. I'll take Sexy Rexy. Okay? Honest to God, none of these guys. And now I'm hearing that the Jets are going to interview Spagnuolo. It just popped up.
The Raiders, apparently.
Yes. So I think Steve Spagnuolo deserves a second chance. He failed in St. Louis. It didn't work out. Steve's proven that he's one of the best defensive coordinators in NFL history. He's won multiple Super Bowls in multiple places. This guy's won 4 Super Bowls. He's won a couple with the Giants. He's won 1 with the Giants, and he's won 3 with the with the Chiefs.
Resurrecting that.
I mean, 4 Super Bowls with the Chiefs. 4 Super Bowls in all. I mean, this guy's a born winner. I honestly believe that if he got another chance, he would be very successful. He needs to pick the right offensive coordinator. That's the way I would go. Mike Francesca trying to be the GM. This is ridiculous. I love you, Mike. I love everything about you. I followed you. I don't even listen to sports radio anymore doing this. I grew up listening to you because I enjoy listening to your takes. This take is absolute rubbish. This is crazy. This is dumb, and I don't think it's smart. First of all, Rex Ryan would not take the defensive coordinator job. He won't take it. I guarantee you. And as far as Ben Johnson's concerned, Ben Johnson's not even getting interviewed, and the Jets don't want him. So, by the way, does Ben Johnson want this job with Woody Johnson? Probably not, unless they're related somehow. I mean, maybe they are. Who knows? Johnson and Johnson. Nevertheless, I think the Jets, these list of candidates are some of the worst in NFL history. When you see Matt Nagy and Arthur Smith on these lists, it makes me want to hurl, okay? I take Robert Saleh back than these two idiots. I don't want them. I think this is horrible. This is something that the Jets are going to drop. They're going to drop the ball on this one. I'm going to tell you this right now. If the Jets, I repeat myself on this, if the Jets bring in the wrong guy here, I am no longer going to watch the Jets anymore. I am not watching the Jets anymore. If the Jets bring the wrong guy here, there are two guys actually three guys that I'd be interested in bringing in. If they don't bring any of those three guys, I am not watching the Jets next year because I already know.
So what's the three then? What's the three?
Brian Flores is one. He's my number one target. Rex Ryan would be my third because there's really nothing else out there. Okay. And I like Pete Carroll. Okay. I would go Pete Carroll, Rex Ryan, because these guys have done it before. My number one target is Brian Flores. That's the guy I want. That's the guy I want to bring in. I think he's perfect for the Jets. He would be great with the media. You know why? He could give a crap what the media thinks. He'd be so fun to listen to. He'd give you an ugly look and he'd tell you to shut the hell up. That's what the Jets need. They need somebody to tell the media to quiet down and let me do my job. So he did that in Miami, and I loved it. I love Brian Flores. I take Brian Flores tomorrow. The Jets should have offered him the job when he already came there. So Brian Flores is my number. Ben Johnson's another guy that I'd be interested in. I'm sorry. I'll take that back. Take Pete Carroll out of it. I'll take Brian Flores, Aaron Glenn, Rex Ryan. I'd take Aaron Glenn too. You know why Aaron Glenn? Because he's been there with the New York Jets. He's done something dynamic over there in Detroit with a bunch of injuries over there. And he loves New York. I think he thrives here. He's interviewed twice now. This is the second time he's interviewed over Robert Saleh. He didn't get the job last time. I think Aaron Glenn would be my number two. So I'd go Brian Flores, Aaron Glenn, Rex Ryan. That's my order. Pete Carroll out. He's too old anyways. What's he going to be there? 2 years?
Yeah, pretty much. And,
I don't want him.
But Aaron Rodgers, he's only going to be there 1 year.
I forgot about Aaron Glenn. So Aaron Glenn. Definitely.
Yeah, and that's who I think. That's who I think probably with the combination of everything going on right now fits both molds of these new school guys that Mike Tannenbaum's going to bring in and somehow manipulate it with an analytic standpoint. Combined with Woody Johnson's stubbornness of you're going to bring in somebody with Jets ties. Aaron Glenn seems like the perfect combination of that. So I feel like that is where they're going to end up going. But yeah, if they hire somebody on that list of those,
please, oh God,
Arthur Smith's best year was a 7-win season with the Atlanta Falcons. That's what you're going to build on. And he held back Bijan Robinson. Kyle Pitts maybe is another question, but Bijan Robinson, look at the year he had this year when they got rid of Arthur Smith and they didn't hold him back to like 15 carries a game. And now Arthur Smith, have you seen the Steelers offense the last month of the season? That's who you're encouraged by as another head coach. Retread head coaches generally don't work. Dan Campbell's right now the one exception to that rule. I don't think the Jets should go down that path. Matt Nagy, he'll forget it.
That's a rabbit hole nobody wants to go down.
I know Josh on his show about a month ago was saying he would quit being a Jets fan if they hired Matt Nagy like that. And Carl was laughing about that too.
They're not hiring that.
It's not like the Chiefs' offense was even amazing this year. They were better in the second half of the season.
I'd hire Aaron Glenn if Aaron Glenn's the guy, or Brian Flores, and I bring Eric Bieniemy as my offensive coordinator.
Right. I think Flores.
That's what I would do.
I agree with you on Flores. I think Flores should be the guy. I think Glenn will end up being the guy though. It fits everything like the Jets have in the combinations of what we heard all offseason with Woody Johnson's stubbornness, this 33rd team, these analytic guys, and the great Mike Tannenbaum having some ties as well.
I like Aaron Glenn.
No, I like Glenn too. I think Glenn is a good head coach. I think he's overcome a lot of adversity as well, like rising to the ranks with his Lions defense too, even as a defensive as a cornerbacks coach as well. And I believe he was with the Saints the year before that and did very well with their secondary as well.
I just think it's as a coach, you're getting into a shitstorm. Let's be honest. Like it's kind of a mess, and it's something if you want to take on and like feel like you can change not only, I wouldn't say the culture, but the mind. Well, yeah, no, I agree, but just the mindset of, all right, well, this is done. This is what we have. This is what we're doing. I think there becomes one, and we're seeing a trend, obviously, down in younger coaches that have a better understanding of the feel and how it's going to change the dynamic of a game, where you being the coach to be able to slow things down and have an understanding. So, I mean, I would say there's about 3 or 4 names that would make my nipples hard.
Give it.
The other ones, and we've all named them all. So it's just
in your order. Where did the Jets go as their number one target?
Brian Flores for sure. I mean, do I think a reunion with Rex Ryan is it? Unless you want your toes sucked and new veneers, I don't know if that's really where it's going to be. I
want my toes sucked.
Yeah, I mean, if that's your cup of tea, I mean, go ahead, let it ride.
If he wants to suck my toes, I'll take it back.
I mean, if he wants to,
Owen likes toe sucking, right? I think Owen likes it. Owen definitely likes toe sucking. He's from Omaha.
No, he's from Wayne.
Wayne, America, get it right.
Yeah, he's like Western Nebraska. And then Glenn is there, but also I could see Woody Johnson doing something crazy. And
oh yeah, there's 2 names on that list that already justified that.
Yeah, no, I mean 100%. And I think
take Steve Spagnuolo too, by the way.
No, Spagnola's fine.
I take him
for Nagy at Smith.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's why I just don't think what Jets fans want and what it is going to be I don't think it's going to happen. And you're not going to watch another Jets game.
I'm not. If it's any one of those guys, I'm not watching. Any one of those guys, I'm done watching the New York Jets. I'm done. My hats for the New York Jets, you will not see me wear one. I'll start buying Eagles hats because that's what I'll be watching.
The Worldwide Sports Radio Network will lose 2 Jets fans if Matt Nagy becomes the next head coach.
If Matt Nagy ever gets that job, I swear to God, if I hear and we're watching this show, we're doing this show, this computer is going to be against that wall. I promise you, I'm going to pick this friggin' computer up and I'm going to throw it against the wall. I am not going to be very happy if Matt Nagy is the head coach of the New York Jets.
Well, at least it's not Adam Gase.
That's worse. It's worse. I take Adam Gase back. I take him back. He's coaching high school ball. I take him back. I don't want Matt.
I thought he had good plays, but I thought he was a terrible coach. But I was talking to Speedy. Speedy, we were talking about this actually this morning. Going back in history, guys were these coaches. It was really early in the morning. I couldn't sleep, but Speedy doesn't sleep. Speedy's everywhere, man. We were talking about the fact that if you look back, there's a lot of coaches that they were just special teams coordinators, spent 1 year as a coordinator or something, were great position coaches for a long time. Then they spent 1 year as coordinator, like Mike Tomlin, like Dan Campbell, like Coughlin was a wide receivers coach forever, including on the 90 Giants, and then was a college head coach and then got a head coaching job. That's the pathway that I prefer. You know, I want a guy who's in the NFL that's got a lot of position experience, that they actually know how to call, do some of this stuff. Then they get a little bit of experience as a coordinator, but then they don't need to call plays. We talked about, Brian Dable, obviously, Speedy, we're Giants fans. We're talking about the Giants. And guys, please read my article about the Giants on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It. I read it, by the way. Great article. Great article.
The lament of a diehard Giants fan.
Very funny too. I couldn't stop laughing.
Thank you.
Yes, I couldn't stop laughing.
Now, how does Coleman Grinch article you wrote?
It's actually even funnier.
Okay.
He does take shots at the Giants. So.
Yeah, there's plenty of shots that are taken, deservingly so. But we could talk about them looking for a coach next season. Errol, let's talk about the Jets real quick.
Just give us your order already. I don't want to hear about them anymore. Just give me the order and let me throw up.
All right, the order is no Matt Nagy on the list at all, and start with Flores, because Flores is the guy that you want. You guys all said it. What he's done with Minnesota this season, nobody saw coming. Look, you can give O'Connell the credit. for the offense. The defense is him. And what led this team was a great play by Sam Darnold, but the defense putting him in good positions. Not like you see a lot of teams like the Giants, for example, where the team always seems to have it in our zone, other side of the 50. When you put your offense on the other side of the 50 the other way around, like Flores did all season, and making turnovers with guys that
about the Jets. I'm getting sick.
You're right, but how many guys can you actually name on the Vikings defense right now?
I can't.
Probably,
but I still have Ajita because I know the Jets aren't getting Brian Flores. I know it's happening. They're not getting him.
So it's him. I would put Ben Johnson second because I think he's a genius, and I really think what he can do is just special. The play calling, the trick plays, the innovation. He's
not
doing
even
a lot.
on the list. He's not even on the list. I don't even.
He's on my list.
He's on your list. He's not on their list. So it doesn't work for me.
Well, their list has Rex Ryan on it.
It's better than having, I don't know, Arthur Smith and Matt Nagy. I take Rex over them any day. That's sickening.
What, you're not impressed with the offense in Pittsburgh this season?
No, I'm not. I'm sick. I'm sick. I got to deal with this. I'm going to watch this team debacle this every single hour of the way, okay? This is horrible, man. I'm going to cry, okay? Being a Jet fan makes
So
me
is Mikey T picking the coach?
Yes.
Is Mike Tannenbaum picking the coach?
Yes.
So Flores did not overlap with him. I just looked it up. Flores was the head coach of the Dolphins the year after Tannenbaum left. So they don't have a connection. I don't know if it's like a good thing or a bad thing, but I guess it's not bad because it's probably a good thing.
Listen how funny this is, just so you guys know this. Mike Tannenbaum was chosen to bring in his analytics and himself to pick the next head coach for the Jets. This is the same Mike Tannenbaum that 2 years ago on national radio on ESPN said the Jets are a joke of an organization and they're never going to win. This is the same Mike Tannenbaum that Woody Johnson hired to find his next coach. What a joke.
Maybe he's just going to make sure that doesn't happen.
What a joke. What are they doing? Dude, if Woody Johnson's there at the Super Bowl, I'm going to smack him silly. I'm going to get arrested. I'm going to smack this man in the head. I'm going to put soap in one of my pillow shams and beat him with it. He's an idiot. How do you do this?
Don't worry. Don't worry. At least he's not as bad as Trey Baalke, who has Robert Saleh on his list of head coaching candidates.
Well, Errol, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So you guys are going to bring in another defensive guy for a team that's brought in defensive guys and have the same shitty results. Why not switch it up? Liam Cohen from the Bucks, Ben Johnson, Cliff Kingsbury, all those guys are young, driven guys. I think you can find a good D coordinator to come in and run the defense somewhat, but you guys are going to go down the same path with a Brian Flores, who's already got bounced from Miami. You think he's going to have different results with the Jets? No, I don't think so.
The division better than anybody else does. So
he didn't win. And he didn't win.
If you look at his record in the division, he has a winning record. Go look at his record
but he didn't win as a head coach.
He was only there for 3 years, and he does have a winning record over there in Miami.
Okay, you guys get the D coordinator and struggle
They're
for another
racist.
3 or 4 years.
Miami's are a bunch of racists.
You guys will struggle for another 3 or 4 years, and we'll be having the same conversation about how they can't get it right. You guys got to break the mold. Get off the defense. The league is switching to offense.
You know what I'm going to break? I'm going to break my foot in Woody Johnson's ass. That's what I'm going to do. That piece of shit, man. That guy is an idiot. How do you hire Mike Tannenbaum, who went on national radio to put down your organization and team? This is the same guy you fired for John Izek. What are you, nuts? This is stupid. You should have hired me. At least I would have made the right choice. I would have said, you know what? Narrow it down, you dumbasses.
Oh, and I like the Liam Cohen as a guy in the hiring cycle. I just don't know if it's with the Jets because the Jets have Aaron Rodgers. I think it's more
Couldn't handle New York.
I think it's more of a team with a younger offense, a
Couldn't
younger
handle
quarterback to work. I think
just make Aaron Rodgers the GM. Then who cares?
Oh, that'll be great.
It's a 1 year carryover deal until they can find their guy in the draft. Anyways, is what Aaron Rodgers is going to be. So why not get?
He was almost vice president.
If he's the vice president, I'm the janitor, okay? Because this is ridiculous.
We triggered 13 seconds back in the comment section.
It is horrible. I am sick. I'm done. Please. Let's go. Please move on. Move on. I don't want to hear about the Jets anymore. This is sickening. Every time we bring this team up, I get sick. I get agita because I know this team is going to screw this up. They screw everything up. And this is actually a really good roster. Somebody's inheriting a good roster. This is the best roster available. And they're going to screw it up. Mike Tannenbaum, give me a friggin' break. Go back to New Jersey, Mike. Go back to wherever you're from. Turkeyville, USA, you idiot.
You're gonna have Nip and put him on a leash.
Oh my God. Oh my God. He's a fat dude. That guy's on Ozempic. He's gotta be that fat ass. I met Mike Tannenbaum when he was here in New York. He was a fat piece of garbage. Now he's skinny, he's scrawny like Rex. What are they hanging out with each other? They have the same freaking dietitian. Those two stupid idiots. Oh my God. Anyways, let's go. Let's go. We got the playoffs. Let's look at the first round, the wild card weekends, and let's make our decisions. Let's do this quick. Fish, you go first, man. Go first in the NFC.
All right. So where are we? The NFC. All right. So Vikings Rams. I'm gonna. You want me to just like list off who I got for each game?
Yeah. Who do you got? And why?
All right. So
you don't have to tell a long thing. You just
side note: Are they going to be able to play it? They were talking about it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up quickly. The fires, everyone, out in Malibu and out going down into LA. The air quality. I mean, I didn't really know anything about air quality till in New York a couple of years ago. I don't know how bad it was for you guys on the island, but we had the fires in Canada came down and it was really bad. It was like the sky was like dark, like it was some kind of like evil movie. If it's like that all the time in California, I'm worried about them.
We got it in Nebraska.
Wow. So they're dealing with something really scary over there. Apparently there's 3 really big fires. So, prayers and, best wishes and everything to the guy, everyone affected by it. But if they do play it, I don't like the Rams in this game. They're all banged up. Give me the Vikings. I think they're excellent. I want to see a rematch of that Vikings-Lions game. Give me Baker. I don't trust a rookie quarterback against the Bucs on this one. He's going to have to score a lot of points to keep up with Baker. I don't think he's going to. And he's a little banged up to some shots. And I don't have it open in front of me. The other one's the Packers.
Eagles and Packers, yes.
Give me the Eagles blowout. I don't think the Packers have a chance in this game.
I can't believe, by the way, that Wes.
I couldn't believe it either.
I couldn't believe it. Reno Johnny think that the Green Bay Packers are going to go into Philadelphia.
I think they win by 15. I think they're going to kill them. It's going to be a massacre.
I don't think it's going to be a massacre, but I don't know. I'm not going to tell you right
sneaky bad QB for a lot of this season. Like he's thrown some horrible picks this year. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know about that guy. I'm not completely sold on him. So those are my guys over there. On the other side.
No. We'll do
NFC?
the NFC after.
All right, gotcha.
We'll do the NFC after. Owen, give us your NFC.
I got the Rams. I got Matt Stafford winning that game. It's supposed to be a home game, but even in Arizona, the same amount of people show up for the Rams. But Matt Stafford with the win. I got the Eagles in a blowout. I just don't think the Packers line up. And then who's the other game?
Buccaneers and Washington.
Buccaneers.
Bucks. Baker rolls, I think. I think he's having too much fun to stop now, so he's going to win.
Yeah, so starting off with
the Rams and the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm going with the Vikings on that one. Like Fish said, the Rams are kind of beat up on that. And I do think that the Vikings, their defense is still pretty good, so give me the Vikings with that. Baker Mayfield has proven to be a really good playoff quarterback. He's always delivered in the playoffs. He's actually pretty good in the wild card round every time he's been in. So give me the Buccaneers over the Commanders. And I 100% agree. I think that the Eagles, I disagree with Reno Johnny saying that even if Tanner McKee is in and Jalen Hurts doesn't play, the team has shown that they can win without Jalen Hurts, whether it's Saquon running down the ball, and their defense is one of the best defenses. So I'm going to have the Eagles advancing in this one as well.
Speedy,
All right, I got the Vikings. And I originally was going to pick the Rams, but now I think they're right. The distractions I think is going to affect some of the players. I think the Vikings win a close one, lower scoring game. I like the Bucks in a semi blowout. I think that's a tough matchup for Jaden Daniels with that outside rushing defense with Todd Bowles, and I like the Eagles kind of semi blowout, like a 10-point win.
Jabba, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. We're all kind of on the same page, but yeah, Vikings. Then I don't want to bet against Baker. You know what? I'm gonna take Washington in that one, and then the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Minnesota. I do trust Sam Darnold in this game, even though everybody keeps talking about it. I think Sam Darnold has a better game than Matthew Stafford. I think this Minnesota team could be dangerous, and if they match up against the Lions in the next series and next week, I think they could beat the Lions. Yeah, I really do. I have the Buccaneers. I love Baker Mayfield. I think Baker and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the most dangerous team right now. They're getting very, very healthy right now. Their defense is really, really good. And I've got the Eagles. Come on. I mean, I like Green Bay, but Jordan Love's not even going to be playing in this game. Jalen Hurts is playing in this game. I don't care what anybody says. He will show up in this game. He doesn't really need to because they have Saquon Barkley, and Green Bay's had problems in the last couple of weeks stopping the run. So I got the Eagles. All right, Fish, your AFC.
All right, so first game, Texans, Chargers. Give me Harbaugh, man. I don't like how the Texans have played this year. They lost so many receivers. I don't think they have enough left. Give me the Chargers. The spread, they said, what would Wes say? It was 9.5 now, the spread for the Ravens over the Steelers. That I'm surprised it's that high, but I do agree that they are going to blow them out. And finally, we have the Broncos and who are they playing?
Bills. And
Broncos Bills.
Yeah. What do you
That's
got?
an interesting game. I think that's the best game of the 6 that
It
we're
is.
going to get to watch this weekend.
It'll probably be the biggest blowout.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go Bills because the smart money is on the Bills in that game. It has to be. Josh Allen's had the MVP season. I think he's going to get it over Lamar. It's really close, but I think he's going to get it. He deserves it. They don't have a lot around him, and he still just makes it happen. McDermott does make mistakes in game management, but he's not a bad coach. He's a bad game management coach. If they're not in a close one, it could be like a 30-point game, in my opinion. I don't think the Broncos have enough. Good defense, but Josh Allen can break defenses.
I'm going Chargers with Harbaugh. I'm going Ravens in a close one. I don't think it'll be the blowout. They play each other tough. It's a division rival. And then I got the Bills. I just don't think they'll lose in the first round with Josh Allen.
Scoops?
Yeah, I'm going with the Chargers on this one. The Texans, like Fish said, are really beat up. And good year. I love CJ Stroud, but he didn't have that much of a successful year. If we were talking about last season, then I would have probably gone with the Texans. But the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh is unstoppable. Give me the Chargers. And I'm going to go for an upset on this one. I think that the Steelers can upset the Ravens here in this one. You know, throughout the years, the Ravens always look like somewhat of a dominant team, but they kind of just seize up sometimes and stall up in the playoffs. So if they are expecting with little preparation against the Steelers, the Steelers can honestly win this. And I'm going with the Bills over the Broncos on this one.
All right, from the wise words of Chris Berman, you're all on the Chargers, and you know I'm not going to be. I'm going to actually be the first to take the Texans here. I don't think the Chargers have enough pass rush to take advantage of the bad offensive lines. So give me Houston in a close one, low-scoring game. I like the Ravens. I think it'll be closer than expected. Steelers cover the spread, and I like the Bills in a blowout.
Speedy, I'm going with you on that one. I just think the Chargers are going to get wore down. Then I got the Ravens. Carter, I love you, and you're probably going to hate me for this because he's a Broncos fan. And all he cared about that they were in. And I was like, but you got to play the Bills. And he goes, I don't care. We're in. Sure. So with that being said, I love you, Cart, but I'm going to take the Bills.
Yeah, I got the Chargers. I think the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh, I'm not going to bet against him in the playoffs. Look at his numbers as a head coach in the NFL, as a head coach in the playoffs. His numbers are over 500. I have Baltimore in this game. I think it's going to be close, and I agree with you, Scoops. I wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh pulls out a win, but I'm going to bet Lamar. I want to see Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen next week. That's going to be fun to watch. And I got Josh Allen. I can't see the Broncos going into Buffalo and beating them. snow, rain, whatever, Speedy shitting on the ground, I think Buffalo wins the game. So there you go. So gross sexual crap. As crazy and as you know why it's making that sound.
So do you want to do a Super Bowl prediction right now before we start? All of us? Who's going to be in the Super Bowl and who wins?
We'll do that later. We'll do that later. We don't have to do that now. All right. We got one more thing to do as we do this every single Wednesday, as we call this Analytics.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Now it's Analytics.
I want everybody together to go ahead and say penis, 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 vagina, vagina, vagina.
All right. I'm going to make this easy tonight, Speedy. I'm going to make it easy. So you have a chance to win, but you got to think. You got to use your brain here. Oh, boy. Okay.
All right. Well, before we start, let's just, in case we have some new listeners and viewers, explain the game Analytics. The way this game goes is it's Errol versus Speedy, and they're both going to try to figure out the term that each other has. The term that Speedy's going to have for Errol is a sports analytical term. It's not Errol's strong suit, so Errol's going to try to he's going to have 3 chances with hints to get it right. On the same token, Speedy will also have 3 chances with hints to get it right, except his term is not a sports analytical term. It is what we are calling, and what Speedy usually calls, gross sexual crap. It is an analytical term. Gross sexual crap! Kind of sexual innuendo. Whoever gets it right in the fewest amount of guesses is the champion of tonight's Analytics. We have 2 great competitors, Errol and Speedy. I believe what's the record so far? We haven't played in a couple of weeks.
I think I'm 2-1.
Do you know the record?
Right? I think I'm 2-1.
I won the last one, but I think Errol's won the majority. Either 2-1,
I think.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So we're 2-1. Speedy, you can draw the series even very easily right here tonight. So with that being said, I'm going to try the music. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Where are we? Right here. Speedy, reveal tonight's sports analytical term of the day.
So the initials this time are PRWR.
Points.
Say it again, Speedy.
Wide receiver?
PRWR.
All right. PRWR. PRWR. Any guesses?
It's got to be football.
Football, right?
It's got to be
football.
football.
So everything is, it's football. Because tonight's all football.
I don't know. I don't know.
Wild guess. PRWR.
Points, round, wide receiving, relief.
That is incorrect. All right. We are now going to change the mood. And Errol is going to reveal the analytical term of the day.
Ready, Speedy?
Oh, boy. I think 13 seconds is more ready than I am.
Here it is, Speedy.
Lock it
Duty,
up, Speedy.
dodging.
God. You did this like 5 years ago, and you riled up one of our guests. With I forget who it was. I think it was one of the college football players. Honor.
Duty, dodging.
Oh, my God. Okay, so...
I'd make a dude
All
wait
right.
with that name, too.
All right. So...
All right, Speedy. Wild guess round.
All right. It involves the tongue action deep into someone's throat.
That would be wrong.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Errol, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm still Googling what the heck this thing is that your term is. Just send it to me in the text. All right, so that one's not correct. Wild guess round is over. We are now moving to our first hint, and again, it is PRWR.
All right, so this has to do with defensive linemen Defensive lineman, a stat that
Just leave it there.
related
Defensive
to them.
lineman.
Yeah, a stat related to them.
And remember, to get it completely right, you have to use it correctly in a sentence.
A defensive lineman?
Defensive lineman,
Defensive
yes.
lineman.
Or
That
edge
is the
rusher.
first hint.
That's a linebacker too. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so
Any defensive, it applies to all linemen on the D line.
so what is the word?
PRWR.
PRWR. So it's football.
Football. Yep. It pertains
Yep.
to
Pass.
defensive linemen.
Passing.
Pass is right. Yep.
Now, Speedy, don't like coach him through it. You're going to lose the game.
RWR.
PRWR.
Is the
Right.
R receiving?
Pass.
Well, I guess it's not receiving.
Pass. Rushing.
Yep. Pass rush is correct.
Second half's a little harder.
I don't know.
With rectal domination.
Would you like to?
Oh, Java just fused them both together now.
Oh, my bad.
That is like when worlds collide.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
so we did not get it on this round, but again, change in the mood. Errol, give Speedy his first hint for duty dodging.
Back
Good luck
end.
in this one.
Back. So, I would assume that involves somebody's ass. So how about some tongue action into there?
You love your tongue action. Good night.
He does. He likes the tongue action.
This has to be something that Errol partaked in because I can't even find it on Google. So
It's usually Urban Dictionary. I don't know what that is.
It's on the dark web.
Errol has the brain of a 19-year-old frat boy sometimes.
So Errol definitely partaked in whatever duty
Java,
dodging
you know what duty dodging is? You sound like a frat boy.
Duty dodging?
Yes. Okay.
No.
All right, well, maybe we're all on Speedy's team then tonight. So we'll all try together with Speedy because none of us have a freaking clue, including Google.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you've had two guys admit to you that they've looked it up and they can't find it.
I was gonna use ChatGPT in a minute. See if they
I'm supposed to be the Trebek. I need my cards. I don't have any cards.
All right, Scoops, you got to find it out from IBM Watson. That'll be the case.
All right, so I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's not correct.
That's not right.
We will now go back to another clue for PRWR.
So yes, pass rush is the correct part of that. So it has to do with a success level of how much a pass rusher, or a defensive lineman in this case, succeeds in an individual matchup.
So succession. So W means succession.
Another word for it, yes.
What in the actual?
Pass, rush, win.
Mm-hmm. R.
I have no idea. Ranking?
Nope.
That is
I was gonna-
incorrect.
I was gonna say
You are very
probability,
close.
but no.
Very close, though, yes.
I think you're gonna get it right on the next one, Errol, which means Speedy, this is a super important round and clue coming up for you.
It feels good.
Oh, I'm stupid.
All right, I'm gonna still go on the ass thinking, but I'm gonna go with the penis. But being it's dodging, more to the side.
Speedy, can you use that in a sentence?
To the side.
Duty
How the
dodging.
hell did you get it to the side?
I can't wait to find out how this sentence is going to go.
Well,
I can't wait to.
We used Tyreek Hill. We used Tyreek Hill too much last time. So let's we'll go back to Antonio Brown for this one. Antonio Brown was duty dodging with 3 different women, including his personal trainer at the time, when he was duty dodging his way into her ass and then out of the Las Vegas Raiders.
What the hell?
Speedy, that wasn't the most grammatically correct sentence. It's passable, but it's just not correct for the purposes of this game. It's a great effort. Let's move back to the sports analytical last hint for Errol. Again, PR.
So the R you're looking for, it's a also this term is a common term used in a lot of quarterback stats.
Got
as
it.
Well.
I know what it is.
Yeah.
I gotta know what it is. Pass, rush, win, rate.
Yes, that's.
All right, now you have to use it in a sentence correctly. And Speedy can tie you.
All right. The defense needs to defend the pass, rush, win rate. I don't know. No, I don't.
Not really.
No.
Remember, it's a defensive lineman. It's a stat for defensive linemen. And it's called pass rush win rate. So what would that mean?
I have no idea. I just took a guess. I have no idea. I plead the fifth. All right.
All right. So Errol solved the puzzle, but did not get the bonus level of getting the sentence right. So
Yes,
Speedy, if you can solve the puzzle, we have a tie. And I'm not exactly sure how we break the tie, but let's see if we can solve the puzzle. One more clue for you.
It goes in and it goes out.
We're convinced this isn't for your 2-hole, right?
I don't know what hole we're talking about anymore.
Me either. I got no idea right now.
And it feels good.
He
I
was
am
right.
so
Listen,
hole right
listen.
now.
He was almost very right about what he was doing, but he just said it wrong.
All right, so
Honestly-
I'm just going with the same body area, but I'm gonna say you have to drive it in. You have to hold it in there for at least a minute.
You got to do what?
You must be amazing if you can hold that thing in for a minute.
Then you gotta go into the push it. Then you push it to the side. That's the.
What is it? A lever?
The dodging. The dodging is throwing me off. So I don't.
It's a pulley system.
Sure, we'll go with that. And then it goes out.
What?
You said this was an easy one, yet none of us on the panel knows what this is. I feel like you failed.
This was pretty Speedy. That wasn't very coherent. I'm not gonna lie. I would. Can you try to rephrase it for us?
Same area, penis ass, driven in that hole.
Okay.
It feels like you're giving me bullet points, not a sentence, though.
I'm trying to get the actual thing first.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. All
You
right,
have to
so
get
let's
the
get the
actual
thing
first. I
and
don't
then
even
the
know if
sentence.
I'm close to that, but so you have to do it in there, and then it holds in there for. All right, I guess a minute was wrong. So
All right, so recapping. Hold it in. Errol, that's not correct.
No, it's not.
All right. So, Errol, it's time for you to reveal the Speedy for this quality educational experience that you have just won. Congratulations, Errol, for winning once again.
How wonderful.
Taking a 3-1 series
How
lead.
wonderful.
So what is the
in
definition?
Analytics. What is the
we're gonna talk
definition
All right.
of duty dodger?
All right. Duty dodging is pretty simple. When it could be a man doing it to a woman or a man doing it to a man. The whole point of it is to make sure that you, when it goes in, when somebody is about to, take a dump, you pull out. That's what a duty dodge is. So come on.
Wait. 30-second timeout. Like, it's about to come out like they're about
Yes.
to take a
You gotta
deuce,
pull out. You gotta pull out.
or
yeah.
you're about to go do business, and
In the
then
mists.
Yes.
the
Yes.
turtle just pokes its head.
The turtle just pokes out. Yes, it's called duty.
Oh
dodging.
Lord
So
Jesus!
it's like a game.
I volunteer 13 seconds to take my spot next week.
Oh no!
This is a perfect segment for 13 seconds.
And
So does 13 seconds.
to pretend like we're still a sports show, pass rush win rate, it just basically says like how when you get off the ball, are you beating the offensive lineman, and how often you do.
Yeah,
So
and
the best,
I'm surprised you
like Aaron
guys never
Donald
heard of
would win
duty
this every year.
Fish, the metric that I was reading said
Just in Nebraska, they've never done it
less
before?
than that beat the lineman. That counts towards that.
The real
Well, you
question
know,
is what? The real question is what is the duty dodge win rate? Like,
Listen, it's never happened to me, but I've heard stories it's happened before. So
Speedy.
Why don't you save that for a private chat on YouTube with 13 seconds?
Wait, Speedy, now that you know what it means, can you give us a sentence?
Oh my God, this is gonna be great.
Record, please.
All right, so for what was supposed to happen last year, this is the context of what Jeff was supposed to do. So I'm going to use him in this, as the example for this. So Jeff, after eating the dog crap that he was supposed to eat after losing the bet to Errol, went duty dodging. And was went duty dodging
with his dog.
With a woman that Mikey C was supposed to hook up with on Twitter.
Oh my
Turned out
God!
to be his rebound.
Hear about this? What's going on here? I'm calling Mikey. You're spreading rumors now.
Why are Speedy's sentences so long? They're so long.
I'm calling Mikey. I didn't hear this story.
I knew Errol was about to be roping Jeff and Mikey C into this.
I've never heard this story. I got to reach out to Mikey C now.
And could you imagine if you were trying to go back door and you just see a little turtle head poking out at you? What do you do?
It's happened before. That's why that's where that slang came from. So it's called duty dodging.
Like, what do you do though? Did you just pass go and then just?
Well, as Speedy says, you move to the side.
you move to the side.
How the hell are you going to move to the side? Okay, that thing is poking out.
Hey, do you hit it like a doorstop and just go? Brrr?
I don't know. Speedy, would you do that?
That's Mikey C. He's the expert.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I definitely got to call Mikey C tomorrow. I got to hear this story. I have not heard this story. So this is definitely something. Speedy, you know that if it's false advertisement, he's going to kill you. So.
It's gonna be quite the phone call.
Yes, it is. I'm going to say, hey, Mike, what's going on Twitter? You trying to hook up with somebody? He's going to be like, who told you that?
Just blame 13 seconds.
13 seconds. Who the hell is 13 seconds, by the way?
In our comment section, I wanted to do some things
Jabba.
to Jabba.
Yeah, he wants Jabba.
Wants to massage him, Jabba.
Yeah, and he wants Jabba.
I think he's been trying to troll us and then realized it's not going to work on this show.
He has to prep for next week. He's ready for analytics next week. 13 seconds, you better be ready to take my
Let me
place.
see those puppies.
Yeah, he tried to do it to us last week too.
Hey, you know what? Online trolls got to troll, I guess.
All
But
right.
have fun. Keep watching, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you to Doc Walker for joining us. He was fantastic. Thank you to all the fans. I'm sorry we started a little late. I've been dealing with stuff, but hey, we still got the show in. We got a pretty good show in with great content. So definitely, if you missed the show, tune in. Go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Job in the Mouth, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, wherever you want to go and see it, wherever you're following us, definitely go check it out. And again, we'll be back on Monday and Wednesday next week with new content, new guests, and a couple weeks we'll be going to the Super Bowl. So that'll be interesting content. We're going to get a lot. So definitely stay tuned for that. That's it. Again, thank you to the fans, and keep downloading and following us all over social media markets. And we'll be back next week. Good night, everybody.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.